go ahead and kick off this meeting for November the 28th, 2012. Roll call, please.
Mayor Wood?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Feller?
Here.
Councilmember Kern?
Here.
Councilmember Boleen?
Here.
Councilmember Sanchez is absent.
Thank you. City Attorney for closed session report.
Thank you. The council meet in closed session to discuss item 2, initiation of litigation, 1 matter. Item 3, conference with real estate negotiator. The property is the Elkhor Zone property, the 450 acres. Under negotiations are price and terms for the disposition of the real property. There will be no meeting on item 1.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We'll start this council meeting. It's a mixed council, Oceanside City Council, Harbor District, and CDC, November 28th, 2012. First off, roll call, please.
Mayor Wood?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Feller?
Here.
Councilmember Sanchez? Here. Councilmember Kern?
Here.
Councilmember Boleen?
Thank you. Before I get started real quick, ladies and gentlemen, all the students here from Rancho, please stand up where you can be seen. Thank you for coming here for political science. Hey guys, thank you very much for being here and keeping track of what's going on in North County. Other than that, we'll start off. We have 2 splits from 4 to 5. 5 o'clock we have some presentation, etc. But we go through this quick stuff at the beginning. With that, could we go with the consent calendar, please, Madam Clerk?
The consent calendar includes items 4 through 14.
Thank you. Anything from the audience to pull?
No requests.
Move approval. Move approval. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, and nobody pulling anything, so please vote. Thank you, Madam
Approved,
Clerk.
5-0.
Thank you.
See, we should put the consent calendar at the end because now we're going to lose the audience because all the staff is leaving.
Yeah, staff's leaving. They got what they wanted. We still have Rancho here, though, to keep us going. Anyhow, with that, Madam Clerk, number 15, please.
Item 15 is a general item, introduction of an ordinance to allow vehicles of veterans displaying a special license plate as outlined in the California Department of Motor Vehicles in accordance with California Vehicle Code Section 22511.3 to park in metered parking spaces without charge.
Thank you very much, Kyle. Good evening.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and Council members. At the October 3rd City Council meeting, Deputy Mayor Feller asked staff to create or modify existing ordinances to allow veterans with special license plates any parking privileges permitted under the California Vehicle Code. Staff reviewed this request and found that we are able to exempt the following plates from the requirement to pay in a metered space: Congressional Medal of Honor, Gold Star Family, Legion of Valor, Pearl Harbor Survivor, Ex-Prisoner of War, and Purple Heart. A metered space is defined as a parking space with a street parking meter present or a parking lot with an hourly rate. This ordinance will allow vehicles with these plates to park in metered parking spaces without charge, but it will not provide free parking in pay parking lots that have flat daily rates. Special license plates also are not allowed to park outside the limits of a timed zone, in permitted parking zones, or in a delineated ADA parking space. Staff recommends that the City Council adopt the ordinance, and that's the end of my presentation.
Thank you very much. Please have a seat, sidebar, where you go forward. Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, public.
We have no speakers.
Thank you very much. Back to the council. Councilmember Feller, please.
Thank you. I think this is one of the least things we can do to honor these people that have given so much of their life to to us. So I would move introduction of the ordinance.
I'll second.
We have a second. Thank you. Councilmember Feline, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I certainly plan to vote for this ordinance. I think it's an excellent idea that was brought forward, and with Oceanside being a military town, as Councilman Feller mentioned, it's the least we can do, or Deputy Mayor Feller, it's the least we can do to acknowledge the sacrifice that these individuals made.
Thank you very much. With that, please vote. Excuse me, I'm sorry, Mr. City Attorney, go ahead.
Thank you. This is the introduction of an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Oceanside amending the Oceanside Traffic Code to establish parking privileges for vehicles of veterans displaying special license plates.
Please vote.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, next item, I'll have the City Attorney do closed session report number 21, please.
Thank you. The City Council met in closed session. There was no meeting on item 1. However, the council did meet on items 2 and 3. Item 2 involved the potential initiation of litigation by the city pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9 in the matter of one case. Council did meet and provide direction on that item, but there's nothing to report at this time. Item 3 was conference with real estate negotiator involving the El Cora Zone property, 450 acres bounded by El Camino Real to the west, Oceanside Boulevard to the south, Rancho Del Oro to the east, and Mesa Drive to the north. Under negotiations are price and terms for the disposition of the real property. There is no action to report at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. City Attorney, while you're so busy, let's move on to 28, 29, and 30. Madam Clerk, 28, please, with the City Attorney. 28.
Excuse me, 28 is the adoption of an ordinance of the City of Oceanside amending Oceanside City Code, Chapter 29, establishing sewer user rate increases.
Public on this, Madam Clerk?
We have no public on this.
Thank you. Back to the council. Councilmember Sanchez.
Yes, thank you. I believe I voted no, so this 5-0 needs to be corrected in this matter.
On 28, I know you did on 30, but I don't know about 28.
I believe it was 28 as well.
Your call when we vote, if you wish.
I believe it was both of them, so.
We'll check into that.
Okay,
We'll
thank you.
Change that.
Thank you. With that, please
So,
vote.
move adoption. Did somebody?
Yeah, we do.
Second.
Thank you very much. With that, please vote.
Motion approved, 4-1. Sanchez, no.
Thank you. Mr. City Attorney, 29.
Thank you. Item 29 is the adoption of an ordinance of the City of Oceanside amending Oceanside City Code, Chapter 37, establishing water user rate and external water provider charge increases.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, public on this one?
No public.
Thank you. Back to the council.
Move adoption.
Do I have a second? And a second? No other comments? Please vote.
Excuse me,
I'm
I
sorry.
believe that it's the same thing. I voted no, and I just looked it up, so it was a 4-1 vote.
Thank you very much. That's fine. Please vote.
Motion approved, 4-1. Sanchez, no.
Thank you, ma'am. And with that, Mr. City Attorney, number 30.
Item 30 is the adoption of an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Oceanside amending Article 12 of the Oceanside Zoning Ordinance, RZA 12-00001.
Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, public?
There's no public.
Thank you. Back to council. Councilmember Sanchez.
Thank you. Was this not the item having to do with the pawn shop?
No.
No? Okay.
We voted no on this one, though.
These are the zoning changes in Article 12 and Subdistrict 6A, the drive-through,
Oh, the
among other
drive-through,
changes.
that's right. Getting them mixed up. That's
Uh,
right. Thank you very much.
Motion.
Move adoption.
Second.
Thank you. With that, please vote.
I need your vote, Councilmember Feller. Deputy Mayor. Motion approved, 4-1. Sanchez, no.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, with that, I'd like to move over to the City Council reports, 16 through.
Item 16 is Mayor Wood.
Thank you very much. I do appreciate it. A couple of comments. Normally this is at the end for everybody when we finish, but this is early. We're kind of a short agenda, but for me, for closing on this everybody wants to say thank you. Everybody in the city, thank all of you for your holiday season. I know I had to let a belt notch out and get a different pant size. I really enjoyed my Thanksgiving. It was wonderful. I hope you all did. A long weekend too, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, so it was wonderful. Other than that, I have to say a few comments, and I will close today's meeting with it. Wonderful celebration of the life for Kay Parker, who passed away last week. She was our chair of our housing commission, just a wonderful person and friend. She touched so many lives, and everybody was able to share stories of her life and at that event, celebration of life. I want to thank all those people who came. It meant a great deal to her husband, Dick Parker, who also volunteers here in the city of Oceanside, and we appreciate that. Their son drove down from San Francisco for that, and again, I want to thank everybody. It really meant a lot to the family, and she was really a strong person of will and commitment to our city, and I thank her and the family for it. Also, I want to mention that the Oceanside Salvation Army sent me an email, and maybe the rest of the council members, that they need help this year. They're trying to get food and toys for about 700 families in Oceanside. It's been a tough economy, so they're a little slow this year. So anybody out there who can assist the Salvation Army for this Christmas and the needs for toys and food, we would appreciate it. Their shelves are somewhat bare because the amount of assistance, it certainly has gone up because of the economy. And this is a holiday season, and donations are welcome. And the delivery of those items to the Salvation Army are at 3935 Lake Boulevard in Oceanside. That's their main center. Or you can contact them at 760-631-8212 for more information. And again, perishable items, young people's shoes, toys from age 1 to 12. I have a flyer here that's on another issue for them, and that's Dive into Christmas. The Salvation Army officer is going to do a skydive, the tsunami skydiving down the Oceanside Airport on December 1st at the airport. Time 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock. Bring toys and food for support for the Salvation Army. I guess he's doing this to get attention for the Salvation Army, and he's going to skydive out of the plane down there. I'll be on the ground in case any of you want to skydive with him. That might cost something, but I'll be watching from the ground again, making sure that you're all safe on the ground. But anyhow, please, a giving community we know that. Salvation Army not only doesn't send us a letter saying they need help, so it's obviously true. You can give back to them. I'd appreciate it, and thank you very much. I will close tonight with remembrances of Kay Parker, and that's all I have right now. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Item 17 is Deputy Mayor Feller.
Thank you. Attended the Vista Invitational. It's a field tournament for marching bands, and our teams is from Oceanside and El Camino just did a great job over there. I wanted to mention the turkey trot. The turkey trot on Thanksgiving Day brought 9,000 runners and walkers to downtown Oceanside. You could not, if you go on CamaineEvents.org, I think, it's unbelievable that many people can be in the street. It was just phenomenal, and I know Petite Madeline, the Pierview Coffee House, several of the restaurants down here did a great business that morning, just in coffee. But it's a great event to show off our town, and the 5-mile run took them all through downtown and out onto our harbor, and then ended at the pier, and really a great day of moving your feet before you eat. As the mayor said, we got to eat big Thanksgiving dinner, but at the turkey trot, I started last, and I was hopeful that I might pass somebody, but I finished last too. So it was a...
Jack, if I may, I must make, Jack, Gary and I helped watch the runners as they went by.
Well, and I walked the race, so
I know.
it was I could not catch up with this lady in a walker. So anyway, it was really great. So my grandson Justin is nominated for the Silver Pigskin. So anybody that cares to vote for him at KUSI on the PPR. It's 10% of the vote, so I would encourage anybody that thinks he did a great job as a young man and athlete, and that closes the 11th of December at 5 o'clock. And the last thing is we're going to visit all 30 of us in my immediate family are going to visit my father for his 90th birthday, and that's an event in itself, just getting 30 people 550 miles away. So I look forward to a great new year in next three or 4 years, and we have Christmas tree lighting tomorrow night too.
If it doesn't rain.
If it doesn't rain, well, they're still gonna light the tree, aren't they?
I think they will, but they might postpone to next Thursday for this.
Oh, okay. And that's it. Thanks.
Excuse me, I know you forgot some Saturday night's football game. Could you maybe highlight what's going to happen?
Yeah, Oceanside's going to play Poway, and they beat them pretty good the first time, but Oceanside's going for, I think it's their 9th out of the last 10 years CIF championship, so it's pretty impressive. And then if they can win there, they'll be playing for the state championship. So
That's this Saturday and this
Saturday at Escondido at 7:35.
Item 18, Councilmember Feline.
Thank you. The first item, touch on the turkey trot as well. It was a wonderful event. I guess it's a good thing I'm not in charge of marketing for these things. If someone had come to me and said, we want to wake up people at 5 o'clock in the morning on Thanksgiving so they can start running at 7 a.m. on Thanksgiving morning, I would have said they were crazy. But we managed to find 9,000 crazy people to participate in the race this year. And I was told that's just up from 1,000 a few years ago. So it certainly shows with some creativity the kind of spectacular success we can have marketing our city. And while I can't speak for the mayor, I just want to say I graciously chose not to compete in order to give Deputy Mayor Feller a chance to win, and I'm sad to see my confidence was misplaced. So maybe we'll have better luck next year. I was happy to attend Congressman Darrell Iss's pancake breakfast to raise funds and toys to pass out for needy families on Christmas, and that's always a wonderful year. Always a pleasure to attend Eagle Scout ceremonies, and I was able to attend Eagle Scout ceremony for a family friend, Andy Mathias, and always wonderful to see someone achieve this rank. I also was able to attend the event for the Disabled American Veterans, where they showed off some of their new advertising and public service spots. You've probably seen them on TV, and it's always wonderful to support a military organization. Speaking of which, in Oceanside, of course, we have our annual Veterans Day program, Advance, and it was wonderful to participate in that. I've not missed a single one since I was appointed treasurer and elected to the city council, and it's great to support North County. And also I try and attend Chamber of Commerce events, and attended their most recent event, the Sunset Mixer at Tri-City Medical Center. Now they put on display there a new robotic surgery program where they actually can use robotic surgery to do back operations with a rate of precision that before had like a 25% error rate, to where this error rate is now basically zero. And most of the operations are fixing previous operations where some things have gone wrong. So it's just wonderful to see the kind of advances that are taking place at our own hospital at Tri-City Medical Center. And that concludes my report.
Item 19, Councilmember Curran.
Thank you. I'm sorry I missed the turkey trot, but I was out actually shooting chucker, so trying to get, so I was, a tremendous event. I think, I saw pictures, John Daly from 101 showed the pictures that went past his restaurant, and it was crowded. And then Councilmember Feller shows a couple pictures that they had, so it was really a good event. The only thing, I was out of town, but I did have a couple of phone conversations, and I know there's been some concern about the combination of the North County Times and the Union Tribune. And I have been talking with the Vice Chairman, John Lynch, about keeping a presence here in Oceanside, because I think it's very important as the largest city in North County and the third largest city in the county itself, is that the newspaper should be centered in Oceanside. And my indication is that North County Times, UT, are going to locate here in Oceanside. I think they're negotiating for a lease agreement for a site here in Oceanside, so we will keep those jobs in Oceanside. So I've talked to him several times. So I think it's extremely important for us. I mean, it was kind of a tough conversation. He wanted to know if he was wanted here in Oceanside, and I said absolutely. Everybody on this dais wants jobs in Oceanside. So the idea that having the North County Times and the UT remaining in Oceanside is very important for us all. So that was the only other thing. Everything else, I was out of town. So I did attend Congressman Ice's event, and so does Councilmember Feller, so we were all there. So it raised a lot of toys and things like that for some of the kids on the base. So thank you.
Item 20 is Councilmember Sanchez.
Thank you. I would like to first congratulate our mayor on his run again for re-election and getting a supermajority of the vote. I want to thank you, Jim, for deciding to run again.
Thank you.
And I think you said a couple of times that this may be more dangerous than your 31, 32 years with the Oceanside Police Department. So,
Yes.
thanks for, taking such a public safety, risk job for us. But no, it's real obvious that that the residents of Oceanside, the voters of Oceanside, the taxpayers of Oceanside feel very strongly about your leadership. And I had no doubt that you would have that kind of level of support. So I know that there are still a few more outstanding ballots to be counted, something like 32,000, but to get 55% basically is just phenomenal. I also want to thank the voters for returning me back to being to the dais as your council member, and I have to say I was deeply touched because I didn't do as much for myself as I usually do, and I guess I'm amazed at. I think this is the highest margin of win that I've ever had. I think almost 5,000 votes to more than the next person, and I really appreciate that. That you believe in me and believe in actually the vision that Jim and I have for our city. I'm really feel very, very blessed to live in a city, to have grown up in Oceanside, been born and raised in Oceanside, to have been able to share so many life experiences here with my classmates, with coworkers, with family, friends. It's just been wonderful. And to every year meet and have new friends, it's just been wonderful. And I do also want to congratulate Zach Beck, who seems to be our new city clerk. Actually want to lead into our swearing in and invite everyone to our swearing in, which is next Wednesday at 10 a.m., December 5th, 10 a.m. here at the council chambers. So please, if you can come, please do. So this is something that we would like to share with you, truly. And as we've actually had a couple of losses this past week. First, one of our elders in the neighborhood in East Side, Anita Soto. She was still very, very active at 95. When I first became a council member, she was coming to meetings, neighborhood meetings, and, you know, and always knew where she lived and, you know, passed by, and it was just really, she's just a really great, one of our elders, one of the pillars of our community, and so it was really sad to see her pass on, but at 95, boy, that's really, really wonderful. And another pillar is my own aunt, Virginia Sanchez, the wife of my uncle Tony Sanchez. They lived on Bush Street, in fact, on the other side of where Anita lived, across the street. And my aunt, gosh, I've, of course, known her since, you know, yay high, because they always lived on Bush Street, and we always lived on Pull Street. And you know, we grew up with my cousins, my cousin Rosalinda, Yolanda, of course, Anthony. In the end, Anthony took care of her at home. She ended up having to suffer with Alzheimer's, and he did such a great job, you know, working and then coming home and taking care of her. So a wonderful, wonderful family. Oceanside family. I'll miss them both, especially, of course, my aunt, but Anita Soto, who has other family here in Oceanside. In fact, there were a couple of hundred people that showed up for her celebration of life. It's just some, you know, these are the folks that stand for, you know, what we're about in Oceanside: family, ethics, working hard for what they have, and believing in an Oceanside. So I would like to add their names to our
I have
commemoration.
Total of 3. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. And this Saturday we're also having a concert, and I don't know if anybody was going to be announcing that. I believe it's at 7 o'clock here at the Star Theater. It's to raise money for Canine Companions, Bushwalla, and tickets still available. I know there's a whole lot of things happening on Saturday, but this is really, really important. This is something this is Valley from, you know, who actually worked for the city of Oceanside and now has her own coffee shop and now has her own foundation, doing some really, really great things for Oceanside. So if you are interested in tickets, it's Feeding the Soul Foundation? feedingthesoulfoundation.org. So please, you know, if you think that you have a free moment Saturday night, please get tickets, come on out, and there's going to be some really cool snacks and food that I believe she either makes or has other people make, and it's, you know, a really great time. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, and the city clerk, we had a short agenda for now. We come back again at 5 o'clock. We have a wonderful presentation for proclamations and presentations, some special guests tonight. So we'll be back at 5 o'clock. Sorry we finished a little bit early. A couple more items out here, but please, if you haven't been here before, out the double doors, up the stairs, restrooms, water. And just before that, come back inside and get your seats. If you have students here from Rancho that need their forms signed, I'll be up in a little while out there. I'll sign your forms for you. Again, a recess until 5 o'clock. Thank you. By the way, Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for the time delay, but we wanted some special guests to meet here tonight, and it was a little bit of a problem with some sort of engagements, but we thank you all for being here tonight. We'll move forward in a little section. I think you'll see in a little while why we wanted to wait for some very special guests that we have. Later on, I would hope that we get a classic Oceanside reception for some of these people, I mean a big one. With that, if I may, Madam Clerk, why don't we do it one more time? Can I have a roll call, please?
Mayor Wood.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Feller.
Here.
Councilmember Sanchez. Here. Councilmember Kern.
Here.
Councilmember Feline.
Ladies and gentlemen, before I go forward, if you do have a cell phone, pager, could put on vibrate or silent, we would appreciate that. And I'm usually the one that forgets to do that, and a great turnout tonight. With that in mind, could we have the invocation? Valerie, please, will you take them there? Ladies and gentlemen, invocation and the pledge, if you remain standing for those two. After that, you can have a seat, please.
Tonight, leading us in the invocation is Carrie Larry Cornett of Congregation B'nai Tikva.
Good evening. As we come to celebrate the season of peace on earth and goodwill toward men, Hanukkah will be celebrated by the Jewish people next week on Saturday. Hanukkah commemorates a victory after the desecration of the Holy Temple in Jerusalem, but the word Hanukkah means rededication. And in that vein, let us pray. Honorable Mayor, Deputy Mayor, City Clerk, members of the City Council, honored attendees. In the spirit of rededicating ourselves, let us pray. Avinu Malkeinu, our Father, our King, we come together in this hall to do the people's work as we approach this season of peace on earth and goodwill and rededication. We pray that you remind us to rededicate ourselves to doing the people's work. Remind us always that it is the people's work and that the decisions made here can have far-reaching effects on all of Oceanside citizenry. We pray that this body understands that we can disagree without being disagreeable, that justice tempered with mercy is one of your greatest gifts. We ask you divine protection for those public servants who put their lives in harm's way on a daily basis to keep us safe and to keep us free. And to those who serve and protect us at all levels, including our police, fire, and public safety departments. As a city that is host to much of our nation's military, we ask your divine care for those brave men and women who have served and who are currently serving in our country's military. Give them the strength, courage, and compassion that this nation under your divine providence has exemplified throughout her history, to serve to the best of their ability, honor, and dignity. Remind us how grateful we all can be that we live in the greatest country on earth, protected by the sacrifices of those who have gone before us. We also, in our prayers, remember Kay Parker, whom you have called up to your right hand, and the work that she performed for her fellow citizens of Oceanside. We also pray for your greatest gift, peace. Peace of mind, peace of body, and peace of spirit in our lifetime, where all peoples of all faiths can live in freedom, which always starts with your gift of understanding. Baruch atah Adonai, oseh hashalom. Blessed are you, the bestower of peace. And let us all say, Amen.
Tonight, leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and as our team of the week, we have the Soccer Club of Oceanside Breakers, Girls Under 9, Black. Their coaches are Brad Ackles and Carrie Ann Fawcett. Team manager is Jamie Barger. And the players, McKenna Jenkins, Drew Barger, Taylor Hagenoff, Reese Donnerman, Savannah Taveras, Giselle Benuelos, Sofia Munoz, Gabby Ramirez, Hannah Taft, Jennifer Palmer, Jessica Heatherly, and Catherine Gonzalez.
Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Thank you. Valerie, if we may.
At this time, we have the team presentation, which Coach Brad will be speaking.
Thank you. Before we do that, I didn't know if we had another certificate. First off, ladies and gentlemen, if I may, we do this every time we have a council meeting, the team of the week, whatever sport it might be. The reason we do it is these lovely ladies and other people represent our city, citywide, county, state, and sometimes nationally. So we want to get them in front of the live audience and TV to say thank you for representing our wonderful city. This happens to be soccer. And we also find out down the road that it certainly helps some of the parents, gets the kids out of the house and makes them better citizens. And the parents and team parents that come involved really make the city a better place for all of us. So we get them here also to say thank you for what they do. And look at this group. Are we proud of all these good-looking young ladies representing our city? We couldn't ask for more. With that, to the coach, if I may.
Thank you. It's an honor to be recognized by the mayor as well as the city council. We appreciate it. Just to kind of paint a picture of where these ladies came from, they were U8s last season. I coached them. 6 of them remained as we went into this season as U9s. In February, we had tryouts. Just to go back, we won 2 games last season as a traveling team. We are a traveling team. We travel the county. This season, after tryouts, we practiced extremely hard on our ball skills, and it paid off. We played in 4 tournaments. We made the finals of all 4 tournaments. In 2 of them, we were the champions. And then we went on to our Presidio season, where we played a 14-game season. We went undefeated, no losses, no ties. We scored over 50 goals, and we gave up only 5 goals.
Wow.
So the life lesson here for these ladies is that if you work hard, it's going to pay off in the end. It may not be right away, but eventually you will be rewarded with what you put into it. Thank you. I'd like to thank my coach, Carrie Ann, as well as my team manager, Jamie Barger, and all the parents out there. Thank you. And again, to the city for giving us the best fields in the county, without a doubt. Playing at Mance Buchanan, we have other teams that come and tell us that. And so we're honored, and we appreciate it. And thanks again for this. It's just another memory that these ladies can add to a fantastic season.
By the way, ladies and gentlemen, not only winners, but I mean, what we can say about looks and et cetera for this great team representing our city. But I will break in for a moment and explain to some of you that weren't here earlier. This Saturday in Escondido, Oceanside High football team is playing for CIF. This is one of the most undefeated teams in the state of California. If they win that, they'll be going on for state champions, and they've been that many times. It's very proud of them because I'm from Oceanside High, and we've been state champions several times. But ladies, and for the whole state of California to be CIF champ football team, that's this coming Saturday, Escondido playoff against Poway, so we want you to know that we're trying for the best, and that these girls are part of that. Thank you. Can we fit in this photo? Share it for him one more time. Thank you, folks. Thank you, Bill. I know you have to go. But anyhow, folks, hey, great looking team, and what a scoring effort. Man, unbelievable.
For our next presentation, we would like to introduce and welcome Lieutenant General John Tulin of the 1st Marine Expeditionary Force. If he'd please come forward.
I tell you, it had a special visitor tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, not only are wonderful neighbors to the North Camp Pendleton for the men and women, our heroes out there, we were honored tonight to have this gentleman show up, Lieutenant General Tulin. I've been out a couple of times on base with him. He's in charge of the 1st MEF Expeditionary Force, and that's pretty major. That's the ones that rotate overseas all the time. And we're honored to have him here as our guest friend and neighbor from the north. He's here for 2 reasons. Number 1, I keep pleading with him to come here and be on TV to show a face with a name, a hero, a face that you put with it, number 1. Number 2, he's going to do a secondary thing tonight that I think is outstanding, and I'm honored that he's here doing it. If I'd like to pass the mic to the Lieutenant General, and ladies and gentlemen, before I do that, could I have an Oceanside welcome for this gentleman, please?
Thank you very much. Well, first of all, I was really impressed to see that those girls were able to score 50 goals and only 5 against them. I like that offense. Honestly, it's very good to be here at the City Council meeting and to represent the Marine Corps to a city who, for now going on almost 65 years, 70 years, has been home to Marines that have deployed from Camp Pendleton to places all around the world. And it's a city who's provided security, it's provided friendship to many of those families who go through the deployment process and know that their families are in great hands because the city of Oceanside is taking good care of them. And the relationship that we have between the base and the city is the best. Also, too, I do want to really honor a member of the Marine Corps who started way back in 1946. I was told that he signed up for the Marines because he was quite impressed by the uniform. And I don't know if he thought maybe he might win a couple of dates or something back in the big city. It was in New York, wasn't it? And if anybody's wondering where my accent's from, it's from New York City. So. But he served, Mr. Gunny Sergeant Robert L. Moore served in the Marine Corps until 1972, signed up in 1946, and he's a member of what we proudly call our Montford Marines, Montford Point Marines. And for those of you who aren't aware, Montford Point is an area in North Carolina where at the time we enlisted our black Marines and they were trained and organized and led from Montford Point. And just recently, our Commandant of the Marine Corps was able, through a very aggressive campaign in Congress, to bring recognition to all the Montford Point Marines by presenting them with the Congressional Gold Medal only a few months ago at Washington Barracks at 8th and I. And the Commandant, I think we had over 200 Montford Point, 400 Thank you, Gunny's, as a good Gunny Sergeant, always correcting the general. 400. And, so with that, Gunny, I think, we're gonna bring Gunny up here and...
Bring him up, please.
Okay. We have a proclamation that's going to honor the 2012 Congressional Gold Medal recipient from Oceanside, Mr. Robert Moore, and we'd like to have him come forward at this time. We would also like to call forward members of the Camp Pendleton and Miramar chapter of the National Naval Officers Association. With us tonight, Lieutenant Colonel Grady Bellew. Second Lieutenant Charlene DeLuce. Warrant Officer Radcliffe Ormsby. And Chief Warrant Officer Retired Gerald Hampton. Proclamation in honor of Robert Moore, Congressional Gold Medal recipient. Whereas in 1946, Robert Moore enlisted in the elite military branch of the United States Marine Corps. And whereas upon his enlistment into the Marine Corps, Mr. Moore was sent to Montford Point, the base located near the coastal town of Jacksonville, North Carolina, for basic training. And whereas during this initiation period, black Montford Point Marines endured many hardships and injustices. And whereas following this training session, Mr. Moore was briefly stationed at Camp Pendleton as a food service technician before being sent to the Korean War. And whereas following Mr. Moore's stint in Korea, he was stationed at various locations in California and aboard naval craft prior to being sent to Vietnam. And whereas upon returning to Camp Pendleton in 1972, Mr. Moore retired as a gunnery sergeant after a 25-year career with the United States Marine Corps. And whereas due to the recognized accomplishments of all Montford Point Marines, not only have those individuals been awarded the Congressional Gold Medal, our nation's highest civilian honor, but their history will be taught to future generations of Marines. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Jim Wood, Mayor of the City of Oceanside, do hereby proclaim November 28, 2012 as Robert Moore Day in the City of Oceanside to honor not only his recent receipt of the Congressional Gold Medal, but to honor his commitment to furthering diversity and opportunity for all individuals within the United States Marine Corps and our society.
Please be seated. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Sir, yours. I'd like to say I really appreciate this opportunity. It's really surprising to me. I'd like to thank Oceanside for recognizing me, and Mr. Kirby for his effort. He really, if it hadn't been for him, it would never have happened. If it hadn't been for him, it would never have happened. And I feel now that all my service time is really appreciated. It's been a long time. Although I enjoyed my 25 years in the Marine Corps. You had some good days, you had some bad days, but we all came back. I'd like to thank the officers that came down to participate. Thank you. And Valerie, thank you. And again, I thank you.
I just want to finish up by saying I think it's very appropriate that 20th of November should be Robert L. Moore Day. It's only a couple of days after Thanksgiving, and we all are thankful for the service that our Marines and sailors have given to this country. So, thank you.
Men like Gunny Moore, back in the 1940s, they set out to just make a difference, but they ended up making history. Myself, all the rest of the Marines here, we are products of that great experiment. We're products of that toil. We're products of all the sacrifice that you made. And as a matter of fact, this country is a lot better off because of the sacrifices that people like yourself and Tuskegee Airmen made during that point in time. Because if it were not for you, the civil rights movements of the 1950s and 60s, the integration of all of the services throughout America most likely would not have occurred. That is a gratitude. That is what we owe to you. It's like, so we're going to serve proudly for you because you were the stepping stones for all of us through your toil, through your moral, your mental, and your physical courage. On behalf of the National Naval Officers Association and the Marines of today, we just want to say thank you. We appreciate it.
One last thing, if I may, could I have the veterans in the audience stand up, or if you're in the back, wave your hand. I want to thank all of them too, so thank you very much. Photo op time. Let's get a little closer here and we'll get a photo. Thank you very much. And good looking group here, what can I tell you?
For our next presentation this evening, we would like to honor Barbara Regal Wayne, and we'd like to have Tom Reeser of KOCT come forward.
Doesn't take direction very well, I can see.
Why am I here? Barbara Regal Wayne. No, I think, no.
Actually, Mayor, you need to come back. All right? I worked with Tom to put it together. And this is it. I mean, this is the thing. So actually, bring Barbara out. Barbara.
Very organized, I can see. Tom, we'll have you present the next thing, whatever that might be. Barbara, come on up.
Come on out, Barbara.
Gentlemen, you have to go. Barbara.
And now, Luigi, now we need Luigi.
Can we have the rest of the council members come up, please? Thank you. Thank you.
Luigi, you're on.
Ladies and gentlemen, have a seat. This is interesting. Besides the honored guest we had earlier, this is a real honored guest. Barbara Regal Wayne has been our city clerk for at least a couple of years. And I think she's going to move on and have fun and smile again because she won't be here. And I don't blame you for that, but God bless, she's been here a long time and done a lot for the city and given an awful lot to that city. I'm sorry, I have to stop for a second because of protocol. I have a city councilman from Vista here. Could you please stand up, Cody? City council member from Vista. Cody, how are you? Thank you, Barbara. Sorry, protocol. I had to say his name and make him stand up. And I think you have good-looking arm jewelry there to your side there. Outstanding. Thank you, Cody. Barbara, I think we have something from you, and Luigi. So we're over here, Barbara.
Window down and trouble, and you need a helping hand, and nothing, oh nothing is going nothing. Close your eyes and think of me, and soon I will be there to brighten up even your darkest night. You just call out my name, and you know wherever I am, I'll come running. Oh yes, please, see you again. In the spring, summer, or fall, all you got to do is call, and I'll be there. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You got a friend. If the sky above you should turn dark and full of clouds, and that old north wind should begin to blow, keep your head together and call my name out loud now. Soon I'll be knocking on your door. You just call out my name, and you know wherever I am, I'm coming. Oh yes, I will see you again. Winter, spring, summer, or fall, all you got to do is call, and I'll be there, yeah, yeah, yeah. They ain't good to know that you got a friend. People be so cold, they'll hurt you and desert you. Will they take your soul if you let them? Oh, don't you let them. You just call out my name, and you know wherever I am, I'll come running, see you again. Oh, baby, don't you know about the spring, summer, or fall? Hey, now all you got to do is call. Lord, I'll be there, yes I will. You got a friend. You got a friend. Ain't it good to know you got a friend? Ain't it good to know you got a friend? Oh yeah, yeah, you got a friend.
one of those nights where we have all these VIPs, including you here. That many years, let me tell you, I did 31 years with the police department here. It seemed like forever. You did 32 years here, so I know you can't help but wait to get out there and retire and break that smile back on your face and have a great time. That's because she's leaving. She's smiling. I can understand that, and I appreciate everything you've done for me as a person, number one, and on the council for all those years. You're somebody we all turn to and ask questions, because one of the things about being here a long time, you have history. You know the answers and said, yeah, we did that or we didn't do it before. So God bless you and everything you do, and I'd like to pass the mic to you. Now, do you want to come down here for Mr. Racer?
He doesn't want to get in any more trouble than he's already in, do you, Tom? I don't know, tonight seems so surreal. It's just so unusual to think that I'm actually standing here finally retiring after all of these years. Actually, I started with the city in 1970. Used to work in the planning department before I started with the city clerk. My first election was in 1980. So it's been a long time with the city, and just like Mr. Moore had said before he left, there's been those good days and there's been those bad days, but overall they've been really good. It's been a great career. I have nothing to complain about. Have some great staff to work with. Holly's doing a fantastic job filling in the shoes, and all of the staff is here. And if I could, let me introduce you to the staff that works so hard behind the scenes. John, Janice, Angelina, Patty, Kathy. Oh, I've got a story for you too. And James. The story goes like this, is that, of course, I haven't been off for the last year plus because I've wanted to. It's been because of a lot of medical issues. It all started back when I started getting more colds and laryngitis, and I thought, well, that's normal for me. I was always losing my voice anyway. But then I got shingles, and that was kind of unusual. And then a year ago, September, I actually was feeling so bad I had to leave work. A couple of days later, I was in the hospital with double pneumonia. I thought, geez, I've never had pneumonia before. This is really unusual. So then in December, I had 2 compression fractures in my back. Had to go to the hospital for that. Had surgery. March, I had a couple more compression fractures in my back, and I'm thinking, what in the world? This body's really falling apart. And finally, in April, they diagnosed a cancer of the plasma cells, which is multiple myeloma. So that's what I've been dealing with ever since with the chemotherapy. And then if that's not enough, then in July, my husband, who is here, John, just wave your hand. He's not moving too well because in July he went in for back surgery. And he had that, and then after that we rushed him about 3 times back to the ER in La Jolla. They thought, well, he just has a hematoma from that. He'll heal up, don't worry about it. So the excruciating back pains continued, so we rushed him over to Tri-City ER. They admitted him, probably had him in the hospital for about a week with all kinds of tests. They had to open up his back surgery again because it was all infected. There was all kinds of things going on. He had kidney failure at one point. He had a blood clot in his leg. So if it could happen, it did happen. So we're so lucky to be here today. It's so good to have him moving around. So that's why you haven't seen me here. Otherwise, I would have much rather been here. Trust me, much rather been here. So it's been an awesome career. It's been wonderful working with all of you, everybody that works for City Hall and has been here over the years. It's been a great career, and I just want to thank all of you for that opportunity because it's been a wonderful time for me, and it's going to be wonderful to retire. I think I'm old enough to get out now. one of the last dinosaurs. But I want to thank all of you so much again, particularly staff who did so much to help with what I needed to do. Tom, I'll get to you later. But again, thank you all so very much. It was a great career, and I appreciated working for all of you for that time. So thank you very much.
Well, let's do a couple of things. If I have the city attorney, city manager up here for a photo op with Barbara. So, and Holly, you too. And as they're coming up, I want to thank a few people to put this together. It was a kind of an idea that Ben and I had, my aide and I had to do this, and I ran downstairs to Holly right away and proposed it, and she thought it was a great idea, so I drove right over to KOCT and talked to Tom, and he thought it was a great idea. But the one person I really have to thank is Jake Rush. Jake is the one that put this together. Tom had nothing to do with it, so the idea, you can't blame him, but Jake did a great job. Also, Chrissy Hawthorne from the Historical Society gave us photos and footage. Holly dug out some, and Vicki Prosser, I think, has the bulk of those pictures. So I'd like to thank all of those and everybody else that contributed. So anyway, thank you.
If I may, real quick, I think it's interesting to know that when you have to get pictures out of the Historical Society, that's not a good thing. I know that. Secondly is, tell them your husband's real name.
My husband's real name is John Wayne.
Our final presentation this evening, we have the 2012 Sun Slideshow, and at this time we'd like to call forward Marjorie Pierce, the Director of our Housing and Neighborhood Services Department.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. It's my privilege tonight to talk to you about the 2012 SUN project. SUN stands for Supporting Urban Neighborhoods. This year, we had over 900 volunteers in the Crown Heights neighborhood in which we painted 12 homes. We painted the high school wall, alley fences, and the handball courts at Oceanside High School. We spruced up the community garden. We painted the community resource center, the trim and fencing. We painted a soccer mural on the resource center's trash enclosure. And we also accomplished a satellite project with MiraCosta volunteers at the John Landis Recreation Center. The inside was painted. We'd like to recognize our large groups and thank very much the Church of Latter-day Saints, and I believe they're still here, Judy Chauncey and Bonnie Packard are both here representing, and if you two could just stand up, that would be lovely. Oh, thank you. Their church brought over 250 volunteers to this project and have contributed the most number of volunteers over the lifetime of our SUN projects. Sponsors for the event, first of all, is the Housing and Neighborhood Services staff and the Public Works Department. And I want to thank all of our hardworking staff that come out here on Saturday early in the morning. But there's a lot of planning that goes on in months in advance. And Tony's not here, but Tony Godinez has taken the lead, and I would like to publicly recognize Tony, who is one of our city's code enforcement officers. And also David Manley, who does a big job of coordinating all of the logistics, and Brendan Mangan, who actually coordinates all of the volunteers and gets all of the emails and questions about it and everything. And it's so overwhelming, and with our reduced staff, we asked Javier Bermudez from Parks and Recreation staff to give us a hand. So I want to thank Javier, too, for willingly stepping in on this. Also want to thank Waste Management of North County, Dunn Edwards Paints, Rancho Del Oro Landscape and Maintenance, Chick-fil-A at Quarry Creek, National Community Renaissance Affordable Housing Developers, Lowe's, Raphael's Party Rentals, and Impact Design. And thank you. Without our sponsors, of course, none of this would come to fruition. They're very important, and we appreciate them very much. And so, just to top off, we'd like to show you a little video of that day's event in the Crown Heights neighborhood.
And I never thought I'd feel this way. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm glad I got the chance to say that I do believe I love you. And if I should ever go away, well then close your eyes and try feel the way we do today. And then if you can remember, keep smiling, keep shining, knowing you can always count on me. For sure, that's what friends are for good times and bad times. I'll be on your side forevermore. That's what friends are for. Well, you came in open me, now there's so much more I see. And so by the way I thank you, oh heaven, for the times when things are apart. Well, now close your eyes and know the words are coming from my heart. And then you can remember. Keep smiling, keep shining, knowing you can always count on me. For sure, that's what friends are for. In good times, in bad times, I'll be on your side forevermore. Oh, that's what friends are for. Keep smiling, keep shining, knowing you can always count on me. For sure, what friends are for good times and bad times. I'll be on your side forevermore. That's what friends are for. You can always count on me. Of course, no. Don't I tell you that's what friends are for? Oh, good times, never bad times. I'll be on your side forever. That's what friends are for.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I want to say thank you to everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll have 900 or 1,000 people show up for a couple of hours. Can you imagine in your house if that many people showed up, how quick it would be? That's what happens on these 12 houses, spread 1,000 people over it. Gets done in a couple of hours, and those people in those homes cry up, tear up, can't stop smiling. They feel it immediately, and they say thank you. So I thank all those people that came out and again that did it. But I think the Mormon Church has really been the power broker every year for this, and I'm really thankful that they were there and passed that word on. One of the people you saw painting there from Carlsbad was former Congressman Packard. He was there painting also. And one of the city council people were there, Mr. Packard, and Mark Packard from City Council. So we do thank everybody that shows up to try to help across boundaries, make things better for the people who need it the most. Thank you, and God bless you on this. If I may, for a moment to the audience, I'm going to have another presentation that's later in the day, but I'm going to move it up for Councilmember Kern on the Civil Air Patrol. I'll let him do that next, but I know there's people in the audience waiting for particular items. After that, we'll move forward for some of the people that are here before it gets too late. I haven't forgot about you, but a lot of presentations tonight. I thank you for your patience in getting some of this stuff done. With that, if I may pass it to you.
If I can have my colleagues all come into the center here. What I'd like to do, this is the celebration of the 71st anniversary of the Civil Air Patrol. Yeah, people know that I'm pretty tied to the airport over the period of time. And first, before I'm going to bring up Jessie Parfenberger. As she's walking up, I want to talk about the Civil Air Patrol is a congressionally chartered, federally supported nonprofit corporation that serves as the official civilian auxiliary of the United States Air Force. And everybody knows I'm an Air Force veteran. So it performs 3 congressionally assigned key missions: emergency services, which includes search and rescue, and that's what most of us know Civil Air Patrol for, is search and rescue. For air and ground, but they also cover disaster relief operations and aerospace education for youth and the general public, as you can tell here. It has recently been tasked with Homeland Security and carrier service missions. The Civil Air Patrol also performs non-auxiliary missions for various government and private agencies, such as local law enforcement and the American Red Cross. Nationwide, the Civil Air Patrol is a major operator of single-engine general aviation aircraft, that's what operates out of our airport here in Oceanside. It's used in the execution of various missions, including orientation flights for cadets and provision of significantly emergency service capabilities. Because there are extensive flying opportunities, many of the Civil Air Patrol members become licensed pilots, and hopefully that's what you guys will be eventually. The Civil Air Patrol has about 35,000 senior members and about 26,000 cadets in over 1,600 local units flying the United States, District of Columbia, and Puerto Rico. At the numerous overseas United States Air Force installations, Civil Air Patrol members are civilians and they're not paid by the U.S. government for their service, but rather they're members responsible for their own annual dues and fees and must pay for their own uniforms and related expenses. So this was done at no government expense. So anyway, with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jessie.
Thank you, Councilmember Kern. Thank you, Honorable Mayor and council members, for this distinguished honor. Civil Air Patrol has a long-standing history of volunteer service dating back to World War II. Civil Air Patrol in World War II covered the coast of America, guarding against U-boats. Our primary mission is, as Councilmember Kern explained, is aerospace education, cadet programs, and emergency services. With that, our squadron, based here on Camp Pendleton, has exceeded our expectations. We have over 100 members in our squadron. We've become the largest squadron in California. We have reached Quality Cadet Award 3 years in a row. We have won an Aerospace Excellence Award. We've won the National Color Guard Competition 3 times. We have 5 times won the Pacific Region Color Guard Competition. As Councilmember Kern said, our primary goal is cadet involvement, aerospace education, and emergency services. And with that, we cannot do it without community support. So we are always looking for volunteers. If any of you would like to come down and join us, we meet every Tuesday at Camp Pendleton, and we would love to have you there. You can visit us at squadron47.com for more information, or feel free to come visit me after the meeting. I'd love to talk to you, and we'd love to have more community involvement, because without you, we can't do great activities and sponsor these great cadets for future involvement and leadership in the community. Thank you.
I'm going to give you, this is a copy of the proclamation, and here are a couple of pins from the city. I'm going to read the proclamation, and then we're going to do the photo op. First, we got to put on glasses. Whereas on December 1st, 1941, less than 1 week before the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor led to Americans' involvement in World War II, the Civil Air Patrol was founded to supplement America's military operations by Mayor Florio H. LaGuardia in his capacity as then Director of the Office of Civil Defense. And whereas the members of the Civil Air Patrol, Coastal Patrol quickly proved their worth during the war by conducting air patrols, vigilance, discouraged and eventually stopped deadly German U-boat attack on shipping in the American waterways. And whereas these volunteer aviators, known as sub-chasers, flew more than 24 million miles during 86,000 operations, a total of 244,600 flight hours, during which they spotted 173 submarines, attacked 57, hit 10, sank 2, and called in aid for 91 ships in distress. They saved 363 survivors from sub-attacks, discovered 17 floating mines, and flew 5,684 special convoy missions. 59 members of this courageous air crew died, and 26 were lost at sea, and 7 others were seriously injured. Whereas on May 26, 1948, Congress passed Public Law 557, permanently established the Civil Air Patrol as the auxiliary to the U.S. Air Force, whose 3 primary missions areas are aerospace education, cadet programs, emergency services. The Civil Air Patrol continues their valuable service to our nation and the local agencies throughout units like Composite Squadron 47 Basic Marine Corps Base Camp Pendleton. Now, therefore, the City of Oceanside commends the Civil Air Patrol for its faithful and dedicated service to our nation on its happy 71st birthday, and it's signed by all the council members. You're doing videos. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all, I appreciate that. Madam Clerk, I've had requests from the audience. Could you do item number 27 next?
Item 27 is a request by Councilmember Feline to direct the city attorney to draft an ordinance that will allow any council member to make nominations to fill positions on all regional boards and commissions, and to allow any council member to make a motion to remove any appointed individual from any regional board or commission. And we have 16 speakers on this.
Thank you. Gary, your item.
Okay, I guess we can hear the public first.
Your call. It's your case.
Okay, I will call the first 5 speakers. Please line up at both podiums. You have 3 minutes to speak. First is Brenda Sousa, followed by Jimmy Knott, Donna McGinty, Graham Fraser, and Larry Berry.
Congratulations, Mayor and Mrs. Sanchez. I'd like to thank the City Council, and my name is Brenda Sousa. I live in Oceanside, and I think this item that Mr. Feline brought before this council is strictly, I hate to say it, but it's jealousy. jealousy of the mayor, jealousy of what he's done, and he needs to be on the Sandag Council. I've been to the Sandag Council, and I see how hard he's worked. And I really don't think what Mr. Feline brought is necessary. I don't think we need to do this. I don't think it's fair to Oceanside. I think Oceanside has spoke what they want to do for mayor. They've spoke about the roads in Oceanside, and Oceanside needs to be the source of decisions for this council. And Oceanside is the very place where decisions are made throughout Oceanside. And I thank Mr. Mullen and Mr. Weiss for continuing on this council. And I thank you for listening to me, but I think it's strictly jealousy. Thank you.
Mayor, council members, give me that 127 Sherry Lane. First off, I think this needs to be in the workshop. This is not really being here. There's been no information passed on to the public onto the reasons why or supporting evidence or why this needs to come to the council at this time. You know, we have to have some background on the reasons why this is an urgent situation. If it's not broken, don't fix it.
My name is Donna McGinty. I live at 2405 Mesa Drive. I'm a 71-year resident of this community. Probably a little bit more than any of you have been here yet. First, I want to commend Peter Weiss. I understand he's looking at some outsourcing issues, I think, that are certainly commendable and certainly reasonable to take, particularly in the harbor. I spent about 20 years of time in the harbor, and I think the harbor is a really, really good place to start looking at some competitive outsource bidding. Gary, I really appreciate what you're doing. Bean counting ain't no fun. And sometimes it just makes the other guy madder than heck if you find out that there's a good way to settle things in a different manner. And everything is a compromise at the end of the game, no matter what. I think the Sandag board should be a shared position among all of you. I think there should be a rotation that occurs. I think looking at some of the commissions and committees, there should be rotation in any case occur. And it's not a bad idea. They get a flavor for what Oceanside's really like and the differences that really do realistically exist here in support of a lot of different issues countywide. And I commend you for putting your foot in that one, because believe me, brother, you asked for a lot of heat and you're going to get it. But I still commend you for doing it, and I think it's a good idea.
My name is Larry Berry. I live on 3973 Brown Street. I'm conflicted on this. I believe in a strong mayor. I think the mayor should be supporting us, should, for lack of better words, should be bringing home the bacon. He should be getting all the money and all the opportunities from Sandag he can. And I think there's a philosophy in Oceanside to keep us this so-called small little town, and where roads improvements and the opportunities to grow in this community have been neglected, and we've given it to other cities. I think Jim Wood, you know, I understand his philosophies and that we just go slow approach and stuff like that, but we're literally giving away millions of dollars to our sister cities along the coastline, and where they're getting the better roads and they're getting the better transportation, and we're not reaping the benefits from the taxpayers' money that we put into this. So I understand Mr. Feline, Councilman Feline's anguish over this, and that we should try to get, be more aggressive, be more determined, be more taking of a city of 180,000 people, that we should be getting more benefits from Sandag. It's all politics. Sandag is a political monkey that you just have to fight your way through this stuff, and it's all about partisanship, and it's all about working out these things. I understand that we want to go slow in Oceanside. We want to be keep this small community and stuff. But we need to bring money into the city so that we can pay for our police department, pay for fire, and pay for our schools and stuff, and upgrades and stuff. We're missing out on a boat, and I think be more aggressive. Bring home what we deserve, and that's what I have to say. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I'm Graham Fraser, 2119 Ocean View Road in Oceanside, 30-year resident of Oceanside. I'm here to support Councilman Feline's request on the basis that this is, and I support the previous speaker's comments, but really what this is about is a decision-making process. We have 5 council people. We've elected again the same 5, but obviously the city was satisfied with that 5. And we're talking about a process that to make a decision. Gary's only recommending a nomination. A nomination then will enable a decision-making process to go forward where the council will actually talk to one another and present the various views on who would be the best suited for the various positions, whether it's Sandag or the County Water Authority and so on. So I just think we should think of this request in terms of that decision, a decision how to make a better decision by discussion. And typically discussion does reveal a better solution. Thank you.
The next 5 speakers, Charles McVeigh, Holly Martin, Chris Wilson, Diana Sunday, and Maria Russell.
My name is Charles McVeigh. I live at 200 North El Camino Real, Oceanside. Mayor, council members, I'm speaking before you this evening to ask you not to support Councilmember Feline's request on this ordinance. It is not needed. Heretofore, our mayors were granted the authority to appoint representatives to regional boards and agencies, subject to the approval of you, the council. Feline's excuse, he wants to remove Mayor Woods from Sandag simply because the mayor does not agree with Councilman Kern, Fellow, and himself. What a poor excuse. If this ordinance is adopted, then any reasonable person would believe that any time a representative to any board or agency made a decision that Councilman Feline did not like, he would attempt to remove them. Just because someone does not agree with you is certainly no excuse to enact a new ordinance just so one can have their way. No one in their right mind would want to be a representative on any board or agency with this threat hanging over their head. Sounds more like dictatorship to me, my way or the highway. Be this as it may, we all know this excuse catamount to nothing more than a red herring in an attempt to circumvent the will of the voters who send a loud and clear message that they strongly agree and re-elected Mayor Woods to another term of office. And I might add, overwhelming majority of the votes, 54%, 24% more than his closest competitor. Besides doing official business, council members are expected to set examples for our young people. Requesting and voting for this proposed ordinance is setting a very bad example for them, in that the message sent is, if you don't get your way, then get it by hook or crook. The United States Constitution grants the President of the United States the authority to make appointments. If it's good enough for the President of the United States, it's certainly good enough for our mayor. In order to set and send a good positive example to our young, every one of you on this council should vote no on this proposed ordinance faster than a jackrabbit going on a late date. Thank you.
Good evening. Holly Morton, 200 North El Camino Real. Gary Feline, here we are, back in the continued chess game that we've had going for the last year. I've heard you say on many occasions, let the people decide. Well, the people just decided. Just decided. The mayor was voted back in an over 2-to-1 vote because the people love this mayor. We love him for a number of reasons. Number one, he takes the fact that he's supposed to be nonpartisan very seriously, and that's important to this entire community. He's not smug, he's not arrogant, he's not manipulative. He cares about every faction, and that's why we care about him. We don't want to be playing these continued contentious games with our own city council. Things are fine. Don't fix what's not broken. Leave it the way it is. The people voted for him. We want him to represent us. Leave it alone, please.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, Chris Wilson, 770 Harbor Cliff Way. I'm actually not going to use my own words for most of this. I'm going to start by quoting from Section 102 of Article 1 of our city charter. All lawful ordinances, resolutions, rules, and regulations, or portions thereof in force at the time this charter takes effect and not in conflict with or inconsistent herewith are hereby continued in force until the same have been duly repealed, amended, changed, or superseded by proper authority. I also have an opinion from the Attorney General of the State of California at the time. This was rendered in 1998, which states in part that unless otherwise specifically provided by statute, the appointment power of an elected mayor of a city extends to appointments to regional boards, commissions, and committees subject to the approval of the City Council. One of the issues to be resolved here is whether a city ordinance constitutes a statute for purposes of the section of government code that's referenced. If so, the appointment power of the mayor would yield to the terms of an ordinance. But the Attorney General concludes that a city ordinance is not a statute, as that term is used. If the term statute were to include ordinances, it would be a simple matter for a city council to enact an ordinance that would negate Section 40605's mayoral appointment directive by placing the appointment power in its own hands. We believe instead that the legislature intended to create a system of checks and balances by placing the appointment authority in the hands of the elected mayor, while giving the city council the right to reject mayoral appointments. This balancing system would be circumvented if a city council could, at any time, abrogate the mayor's appointment authority through the enactment of an ordinance. In order for the legislature's vesting of appointment authority in the elected mayor to be given appropriate significance, Section 40605 must be construed as being unaffected by local ordinances. Basically, the point I'm making here is that attempting to do this by ordinance would put us in violation of state law. It's foolhardy, it's ill-advised, and it would be setting the city up for an internal legal battle, which would be a giant waste of taxpayer money and probably wind up having no change be the end effect. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Wood and council members. My name is Diana Sunday. I'm the Welcome Committee Coordinator for the East Side Neighborhood Association. I live at 1335 Lemon Street. In light of recent publications, I have concerns both as a citizen and a voter that our voices are not being heard, nor are our best interests being served. I'm disappointed to say the least of the ongoing antics between council. The votes are in, and the residents of Oceanside have spoken. We have the utmost confidence in the mayor's ability to do his job with integrity and in regards to the quality of life for the citizens of Oceanside, with our best interests always in mind. I feel that for you to try to change the rules and regulations to suit your own wants and needs to be less than democratic. I would ask that you set aside past conflicts and move forward with the voters' request for a more unified and courteous City Council. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Wood and council members. My name is Maria Russell. I'm the president of the Eastside Neighborhood Association and a 12-year resident of Oceanside. On Tuesday, November 6, Oceanside residents have spoken, and Mayor Wood has been rehired to be a good steward and run our city for the next 4 years. I don't understand why this issue with Sandag is being created just to attack Mayor Wood, when the voters have clearly stated our position to move forward in support of Mayor Wood. This is the time that we all have to come together, work together, and not to create obstacles that waste time and money. My wish for City Council members in 2013 is for the council to practice a little humility, to have respect for each other, and to put a greater focus on bringing Oceanside to the next level. Yes, and yes, to stop the partisan gridlock. Our citizens deserve it, and they demand it. Thank you.
The next speakers, Doris Elaine Sauter, Mike Bullock, Linda Walshaw, Mike Krogan, and Wendy Bravo.
Good evening, Mayor Wood and City Council members. My name is Elaine Sauter, and I live on Mission Avenue in Oceanside, and I've been an Oceanside resident for about 11 years. This movement to allow any council member to make nominations to fill positions on all regional boards and commissions, which would empower them to remove any appointed individual, one of whom is now Jim Wood, our Sandag representative, seems to us on the outside to be nothing more than a political maneuver. It would unnecessarily make what is now the streamlined process of the mayor creating a list of representatives and submitting this list to council members into a chaotic free-for-all, which would make the process exponentially unmanageable. Not even a month ago, the voters elected Jim Wood mayor. He had over 54% of the vote to his next closest competitors, well under 31%. The voters of Oceanside showed their support for the mayor in overwhelming numbers. Clearly, Jim Wood won by such a large margin because the majority of voters felt he has their best interests at heart and that he votes on issues and appoints delegates the way they want him to. If not, he would not have won by such a huge margin. This evidence makes me feel that this measure by Councilman Filene is unnecessary, does not conform to the implicit will of the people of Oceanside, and must be voted against. I am always grateful for the opportunity to address the City Council, but I must admit that this time I also feel no small amount of annoyance. I lead a busy life trying to write, run a small business, look for a second job so I can have a steady income and fulfill my religious duties, and I quite often feel stretched too thin. This is the second incident in about 6 months that I have had to spend time in political activity to combat some useless, questionable, and perhaps self-serving motion. The last time it was the motion to repeal the rent control and mobile home parks. And this motion, I keep thinking of my Marine father. He would call this motion before us here tonight, going off half-cocked. The mobile home measure failed by a wide margin, and now here I am again addressing an issue that should have never been brought up with time I really don't have. I beseech members of the City Council to try to address the serious problems our city has and get ready to buckle down to economic and social issues we are likely to have in the future as military personnel are reduced
taxes raised, and entitlements are cut. This kind of proposal is beneath you, and I beseech you to please put your attention elsewhere. Thank you.
Good evening, Linda Walshaw, 151 Robbie Lane, Oceanside. Since the City Council majority have made it abundantly clear to Oceanside voters that despite Mayor Wood's overwhelming re-election, they intend to continue to ignore the will of the voters and instead run their own agenda, I will address my remarks not only to these councilmen, but to the voters who are listening to this meeting here and at home. Mayor Wood has been re-elected to office by over 54% of the vote. Even if the council majority's proposed Proposition F had passed last June, he would have still won re-election. Unhappy with this outcome, the council majority are now making a blatant grab for power in an attempt to usurp for themselves those duties which rightfully belong to our mayor, in spite of the fact that Mr. Kern has publicly stated in the past that it should be the mayor's responsibility to attend or appoint representatives to Sandak. Voters should ask themselves if Messrs. Kern, Eller, and Feline would still be seeking to strip the mayor's office of these powers had Mr. Kern become mayor. Of course not. Mr. Feline claims it is the mayor who is preventing the Melrose Extension project from moving forward. What he's not telling voters is that this proposed project was rejected by the Planning Commission because, and this is a quote, the detriments of the proposed project far outweigh any benefits. The Planning Commission study found that this extension would only improve traffic by mere seconds, mainly benefiting traffic coming from outside of Oceanside, from Temecula and Riverside, yet would cost Oceanside taxpayers over $40 million. In addition, this project would take 13 residential properties by eminent domain, eliminate a large portion of Guajome Park, replaced with a 12-foot concrete sound barrier. The council majority, who claimed to be fiscally responsible, then chose to ignore the Planning Commission's rejection of the project, went on to spend hundreds of thousands of taxpayer dollars on more studies when they did not get the results they wanted. Now they propose to eliminate the mayor's participation to force the outcome they seek. Voters must wonder if these councilmen are not listening to the homeowners who will be affected by the project, did not accept the results of their own engineers and planning commission or consulting reports, and still continue to force this issue. Whose agenda are they serving, if not the voters of Oceanside? The answer is their own, and that of the Building Industry Association and out-of-town developers and contractors. I would remind voters of the wise advice of George Washington, who stated in his farewell address, "Beware of all combinations and associations under whatever plausible character with the real design to direct, control, counteract, or all regular deliberation and action of the people. They are destructive and of fatal tendency. They serve to organize faction, to give it artificial extraordinary force, to put in the place of the delegated will of the people, the will of a small but artful and enterprising minority of the community, and according to alternate triumphs of different parties to make public administration ill-concerted and incongruous projects of faction rather than consistent and wholesome plans by common councils, modified by mutual interests. They are likely, in the course of time and things, to become potent engines by which cunning, ambitious, and unprincipled men will be enabled to subvert the power of the people and usurp for themselves the reins of government, destroying the very engines which have lifted them up to unjust dominion. Wake up, Oceanside. Return control of your city council to the people. Support the mayor you re-elected. Contact your council members and tell them to stop this grab for power."
Well, good evening, Mayor Wood and members of the council. My name is Mike Bullock. I live at 1800 Bayberry Drive. I'm a retired satellite systems engineer, so of course you're going to see some numbers here. And also I am the transportation chair for the San Diego chapter of the Sierra Club. And by the way, we did endorse Jim Wood, and we were happy that he was elected. And I'll comment before I get started. I go to a lot of Sandak meetings, and I notice all of the representatives there are either mayors or people designated by mayors. And so I just point that out. But my real question is, whose views align with the views of the voters of Oceanside, and what can we say about that? I'm going to start with something that happened a few years back. AB 32 is Global Warming Solutions Act. It was passed in 2006. It asked for 1990 levels of greenhouse gas emissions by 2020. Along came Prop 23, it would have suspended AB 32. It was funded by the Koch brothers and Texas Oil Companies, came up here to California. It was endorsed by the San Diego Republican Central Committee, and it lost by double digits here in San Diego County. Oceanside, with the vote of Wood, Sanchez, and Lowry, opposed Prop 23. Now, we had an election, and I just want to talk about the views on climate here on this slide, and I've got all the names and all the votes there, and we had some climate realists on the ballot, we had some climate deniers. You know, democracy is a great thing, we have choices, and based on statements that were made at that debate, in OCNA's debate there, I know that those names on the left happen to be climate realists, and we also had 2 deniers, and I show why, and there's the votes. 54,714 against 34,449. So we got to sum it up, and there's the same numbers, and there's the views on climate. Now there's the views on transportation issues. That's Melrose Extension and Rancho de Oro interchange, 61%, 39%. There it is on motorhome vacancy decontrol. Now, if we remove Jimmy and David from that, since these are the positions I understood they took, but of course their impact was totally the opposite, so we're not really sure what their intentions were, but if we just don't have them in there, only Dana and Esther, it's 56% to 44% on climate, and the same thing on the transportation issues here in the city of San Diego, 56 to 44%, pretty solid majority there. And of course, so we know how people feel about vacancy decontrol. So this is just a power grab, power from Mayor Wood, who won by a large margin. His views align with the voters based on election results. And the power would go to Council Members Kern, Feller, and Phelan. Their views differ from voters on climate, on local transportation issues, and on vacancy decontrol. Thank you very much.
My name is Wendy Bravo, and I live at 3030 Oceanside Boulevard. I really like the quote from Washington. One of the things that stood out to me is something called regular deliberation of the people. And it made me think a little bit about when the police sometimes use a flashbang. It sounds like a gun and will cause a startling effect. Some of the remarks that I saw made recently in the press via Gary Feline about a lack of representation seemed to have the same characteristic of something that was meant to shock and awe, not awe in the good sense, but awe, a process of deliberation where you see our elected officials are actually an extension of the majority down through into Sandag as part of a brain trust of experienced officials. Something to sort of shock and awe people off the idea that a majority means anything in Oceanside, or that a mayor even means anything. And this is frightening. Sandag representation is the extension of the will of the majority as it's been exercised at the polls. The no ordinance should subject the majority's confidence to the whims of ambitious and unprincipled folks whose ill-concerted projects serve the aims of a non-representative majority. So what you really see here is a small percentage sort of asserting itself as a majority. That's not what's going on here. We have a majority of voters who elected Jim Wood. That's what they did, and I'm not finished. I'm just getting started. You know, what I want to land on is that we don't want to see ill-concerted projects serving the aims of a non-representative minority, as reflected in the council here, whose projects are unpopular, and that no artful scheme should usurp the administrative process to achieve a potent engine that is going to work at cross purposes to the people's will. Such a whim has no place in a democracy. And sirs, your proposed ordinance is an offense. So exercise wisdom. If this council suffers a crisis of imagination, the public sector will take the lead. That is the re-election of Mayor Wood. Hearken well.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council. My name is Mike Krogan. I live on Coronado Drive in Oceanside. Normally, when I address the council, I don't personalize remarks. But since this initiative is so transparently personal, I'll make an exception. Mr. Filene and Mr. Kern, I think we in Oceanside can appreciate how the loss that you recently suffered is clouding your judgment. Mr. Filene, as lead headhunter for Mr. Kern's mayoral campaign, I'm sure you're wondering what went wrong. I wish you lots of luck in figuring it out. You're going to need it. Let me speak about transparency again. Since you couldn't win the mayor's office in a fair election, you turned to Plan B, something I suspect conjured way before the election. And Plan B is to gut the office won by your opponent. I and many others in this town voted for this mayor to fill this mayor's office, and I condemn you, sirs, for your shameless attempt to change the office and take the mayor's powers of appointment. I condemn you for trying to usurp the powers of an office you lost, and I condemn you for yet another attempt to usurp the will of the people who voted for this mayor to occupy this office.
The final speakers are Linda Sills, Carolyn Kramer, and Diane Nygaard.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. My name is Linda Sills. I live at 42 Chico Lane. This proposal by Mr. Filene, I do oppose it. I have very much faith in Mayor Wood as being appointed for Sandag, because I agree with him on his ideas regarding some of the circulation elements, etc., especially with Melrose Extension. We may agree for different reasons, but nonetheless. And we can dispel any myths that I'm a progressive, because I identify myself with Thomas Jefferson, John Locke, von Mises, and Ayn Rand. So that gets that out of the way. I think that when you have the will of the people, and you have a body politic and constituents, you should listen to them. They elected you. Now, if your goal is to have a 9% approval rating, like the U.S. Senate and House, then you're well on your way. So I would say to you, please, do the will of the people. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I'd like to say congratulations, Mayor. The people have spoken. The city of Oceanside is behind you, and a lot of your supporters are in this room tonight. Everyone made such good comments. I really don't have anything to add, except I do have a question for Mr. Filene. Mr. Filene, if Mr. Kern would be sitting in that seat today, would this item be on the agenda tonight? And I'd like you to answer that, please. Thank you.
Honorable Mayor and Council, Diane Nygaard, Nighthawk Way. Of course, we all want our city to have the most possible influence in our regional planning agency. They have huge control over regional funds. But the best way to do that is to have our mayor continue as our Sandag rep. Anyone who thinks otherwise doesn't really understand how Sandag works. It's a system of appointments within the structure at Sandag that depends on seniority in politics. 18-member agencies with the city of San Diego having a weighted vote. Our mayor has a seniority at Sandag, and our mayor has demonstrated that he knows how to work the politics to get the most for Oceanside. So if that's really the objective with this change, it makes no sense. Thank you.
That's all the speakers. Thank you very much. And Mr. Filene, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. Before I begin, I'll distribute copies of what's going to be my proposed motion. Jack, you pass the over to the city clerk. Here's enough to make it down that side of the aisle. Okay, basically, when we review the history of the mayor's office in Oceanside, when a separately elected mayor was created in the early 60s, the voters passed the option to create a mayor, but that election did not confer any powers to the mayor's office. All the powers of the mayor's office were created by city ordinances passed by city council majorities. Any ordinance to increase or decrease the mayor's power can pass by a simple majority of the city council. In short, any power enjoyed by any mayor is at the pleasure of any city council majority. The question in regards to appointments to regional boards and commissions arises on whether or not the appointee represents the mayor or do they represent the city council as a whole. I believe the appointees represent the council as a whole. As such, I believe the city council as a whole body should make these appointments. The current process works fine when the mayor is part of a working majority, because it does not matter who actually nominates or proposes nominees when a working majority can quickly come to an agreement and the nominees will actually represent the council as a whole. I believe the past authors of the current ordinance did not anticipate the effects of a situation in which the mayor was part of a voting minority on the city council, which leads us to the impasse we have now in regards to the expectations of performance for existing appointees. The current appointment process does not recognize that there is a big difference between appointing third parties to positions and appointing fellow council members to positions. My proposal will give the mayor the lead role in the appointment process, but no longer the dominant role. My proposals also fix a flaw in the current process by clarifying how appointees are removed and replaced. Our current ordinance is silent on this issue. Since the current council majority was elected 2 years ago, I believe the mayor has not fairly reflected this political shift in his appointments. Since the existing council majority was kept in place by voters in the most recent election, it's time to fix this broken appointment process. The mayor has not represented the council majority on Sandag. The most recent examples when approximately $800 million was freed up from the I-5 widening project when it was scaled back. The mayor voted to spend the money in South County rather than voting to fight for North County projects like the 78 I-5 interchange improvement currently scheduled for 2035, which still has a signal to control traffic from one freeway to another. We shouldn't have to wait to 2035 to get improvements in North County when the $800 million was adjusted from a North County project. Past council majorities have not hesitated. Let me make another point first. Unfortunately, no other council members have a vote on important committees, even though we are the largest city in the city of Oceanside. It's a job of the mayor as the representative, or any Sandag representative, to get other council members on positions so the city has more influence. And for the city of Oceanside to have only one vote is I think reflects the mayor's lack of influence down at Sandag. Past council majorities have not hesitated a second to exercise their majority power. Examples include removing Mayor Dick Lyon from Sandag, removing Councilman Jack Feller from Sandag, and ramming through a last-minute labor contract less than 24 hours before I took office, even though that majority had been just repudiated at the polls. So the hypocrisy that some council majorities can exercise their power, but other majorities cannot, is absurd. I would think the current minority would be less reckless about talking about another abuse of the recall process to waste another $500,000, considering their support for the last abuse of the recall process is one reason I believe they are still the minority. I hope the mayor was just blowing off steam. If citizens don't want the council to control the powers, the mayor's powers, there's a solution: the city charter. Propose an amendment that details the mayor's authority. If you are not happy with the council response, you can collect signatures and put it directly on the ballot. The charter is the people's charter. And, you know, it's interesting, when we did have our charter workshop, and I listed a bunch of items, you know, for suggested comments on, some of them specifically dealt with these issues, and there was no response whatsoever as far as putting the mayor's power in the city charter. Now, the earliest my suggestion can go into effect would be in mid-January based on the timing and the readings that are all required. The old process is still in effect, and the mayor can propose appointments, and we can see if they accommodate the current majority. I would certainly prefer to have this settled before the end of the year. So that is still on the table. And to implement my item, I would like to propose the following motion, of which written copies have been submitted to all council members and the city clerk. And one, instruct the city attorney to draft an ordinance to accomplish the following. A, require the mayor to submit a list of proposed appointments to all regional boards and commissions for the coming year, the first scheduled city council meeting after the swearing-in meeting in December of election years, and to submit a list of proposed appointments to all regional boards and commissions for the coming year by the second scheduled city council meeting in December of non-election years. For any of the mayor's proposed appointments to any regional board or commission that are voted down by the city council, any city council member may make a motion to propose a nominee for appointment to any regional board or commission. If the mayor does not submit a list of proposed appointments to the city council by the times prescribed above, or any position that otherwise remains unfilled after the second scheduled city council meeting in December, at any following city council meeting, any council member may be introduced an agenda item to submit a list of proposed appointments for all regional boards and commissions. Allow any city council member to submit an agenda item and make a motion to remove any appointee to any regional board or commission. For any vacancy on a regional board or commission created by city council removal of an appointee, any city council member may submit an agenda item and make a motion to fill the vacancy. And then instructions to city staff to return the proposed ordinance the city council will review on the meetings of Wednesday, December 5th, 2012. And because Councilman Kern will be absent, has a scheduled absence for the meeting the 19th, instruct the city staff to prepare the paperwork to schedule a special city council meeting for 2 p.m. Wednesday, December 12th, 2012, for the second reading of the proposed ordinance. Thank you.
I have a second.
Is that a motion? I'll second that for discussion.
First, before I go to the rest of the council, I'll come back to the city attorney, but he's busy right now. A lot of words there, a lot said. If this goes forward, and the date after the last reading, 30 days after that, what date would that be?
Well, just to be clear, we're not agendized today to set a special meeting, so there is a process under the Brown Act to call a special meeting. Either the mayor can call it or 3 members of the council can call it. So let's assume, for sake of argument, that that process goes forward, that the introduction of the ordinance would be December 5th. If the special meeting is called for the 12th, if I heard the date correctly, then that would be the adoption date, and then the ordinance would become effective 30 days thereafter. So on or about January 12th.
Unless I'm removed, I'll be the mayor appointing those positions up until, let's say, the 12th of January?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. I'm sorry, Councilmember Sanchez, I apologize.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, I have a pre-existing conflict on the 12th. I'm at the Coastal Commission hearing, so I would hope that you would not be moving to exclude me from that vote. So, you know, I would hope that you would do it instead. Actually, there's a meeting the 19th. I don't understand why you don't have it on the 19th.
Well, as I said in my remarks, Councilman Kern is at a scheduled absence from that meeting.
Well, how about the 18th? Well, you know, we could come back on the 31st or something. I do think that you should consider other council members besides Councilmember Kern's absence. I will be absent, and my absence has been known for months. So that's number one. Okay. First of all, I take exception to depicting our mayor as one who has not fought very hard at Sandag and represented us diligently. He has been to every single meeting for years. He has tried very hard, and I know this because I've been working alongside him to get I-578 as something that should come forward. We've been fighting that for years. There is now a different Sandag. The chair has been elected out of office for Sandag. There are going to be a whole lot of changes. So this may be ceremonial. This may be just basically to say, yes, we can do this. Well, maybe they can't, but let's just first talk about, what if they can do this? This is a democracy, and this is something that I think every citizen in Oceanside, especially in this town of Oceanside, feels very proud of. That we have either relatives or individuals themselves who fought in combat, active duty, so that we could have this freedom, democracy, that we don't go out and settle things out in the parking lot, that we settle it via due process. Before going into this election, for I would say most of the better of 2 years, we have had an active debate as to whether or not Jim Wood was an effective leader. We had an election about that. Every issue that has been brought up here at the dais was brought up during that campaign season. And that campaign season was a long time. And the citizens of Oceanside, the voters of Oceanside, those same people who have fought actively in combat to preserve those rights so that we can either mail in that ballot or put that ballot in that box and choose who we want to be our leader. That took place, and Mayor Wood won decisively. It was not even close. 2-1, supermajority vote. And we have known all along that the mayor's office included and includes the power of appointment. There's only two differences, really, between a council member and a mayor in a city manager form of government that we retained via the charter. And that is that the mayor presides over all our meetings and that he has the power of appointment, subject to approval by the council. So there is your power of 3. There is your power of majority rule, which, by the way, I heard often enough during the campaign season that by most of our votes, we vote together. 85% or more, we are in agreement. It is those issues that we feel very passionately about that captures the headlines. I also heard that on the campaign trail that we should be able to debate on the dais, that we should feel free to bring forward our issues. We have done that. The people have spoken. And I believe that this motion that is before us is one of the most undemocratic acts that I have seen. And I'm embarrassed by it. I'm ashamed of it, especially for all those who have actually died or continue to suffer because of their taking this position of going out in combat. And I know we all have at least one relative who's lost an arm, a leg, their lives, their minds, their spirits, and they would do it again. We have families who've had to suffer that. These same families voted too. So I do see this as an attack on the office and duties of the mayor in a city where we directly elect the mayor. I see this as against all democratic principles. If we were I heard a suggestion that, well, we return the same council. There was a lot more behind the numbers. Thank you very much for suggesting numbers, Mr. Bullock. If you look at the numbers for those that ran on certain principles and those that ran on perhaps opposite principles, Mayor Wood received 30,491 votes so far. I received 26,035. Dana Corso received 20,339. In terms of the opposition for mayor, Mr. Kern received 17,157. 17,000, that is less than Mayor Wood, myself, and even Dana Corso received individually. Deputy Mayor Feller received 21,484 votes, and Mr. Dykes received 14,386, 14,000. So 76,865 for Wood, Sanchez, Corso, compared to 53,027. I do believe that if this vote had lasted another couple of days, we would have had a different result. It was a close with respect to Councilmember Deputy Mayor Feller and Ms. Corso. It wasn't even close as to the other two offices. So to suggest that the electorate thought, okay, let's keep it all the same, would have meant that all three of us would have been overwhelmingly elected, and that's just not what happened. A couple of people have referred to a published opinion of the Attorney General, which someone handed to me during the break. And I believe that some of the language there, I hadn't had a chance to review this on my own. I did talk to Mr. Mullen and ask him about this, but I haven't done. I'm also an attorney, and I also have friends in the AG's office, as well as, I'm sure our own attorney has the same. But the arguments that are discussed here, that the basis for the decision seems to me relevant in our discussion as well. They talked about the difference between statute and an ordinance. The ordinance is what we're talking about and what cities can do. And that a statute generally means a state or federal law. What we did when our city adopted the charter, it kept, basically it was an anti-labor charter. That really is all it meant to do. There were like 3 sections about, not wanting to have livable wages, not wanting to have project labor agreements, which the city had never had in its history anyway, and I forget what the other thing was. But it really did not discuss at all whether we should change from the kind of governance that we have, which is a strong city manager, mayor form of government. It kept everything intact. If the term statute were to include ordinances, it would be a simple matter for a city council to enact an ordinance that would negate, and in this case they're talking about section 40605, 40605's mayoral appointment directive by placing the appointment power in its own hands. We believe instead that the legislature intended to create a system of checks and balances by placing the appointment authority in the hands of the elected mayor, while giving the city council the right to reject mayoral appointments. This balanced system would be circumvented if a city council could at any time abrogate the mayor's appointment authority through the enactment of an ordinance. That had to do with the general law city. And of course, we're a charter. But I believe the reasoning applies just as well here. I think that above and beyond our individual beliefs in terms of issues and how we feel about issues, it is the duty of every council member here on the dais to support our form of government. That we agree to play by the rules, and that if the result is not of your liking, you don't try to change those rules. I think that's what's happening here. I agree. You don't like the result, therefore let's strip the mayor of his mayoral duties. I think that it is the most, I'm insulted by it, I'm ashamed of it. No other city has ever done this. It's embarrassing that we have this even, for discussion. I hope that you don't do this. It won't change anything at Sandag. In fact, you probably have an even higher burden because your friends have just gotten unelected. Your network of associates has just gotten unelected. Now is the time to rebuild. Now is the time to say, you know what, we've got to find that middle ground. And stripping the mayor and saying that the mayor doesn't count isn't going to get anyone to want to talk to us. It doesn't present the balance. I have always heard that the mayor's door is open. I have never heard anyone turned away. I've never even served on Sandag. So I know it's not about me. There are a lot of projects that we need to work together on. If we don't work together on them, we're not going to get the money. There are things that we agree on. Our challenge is to focus on those and stop focusing on those that we don't agree on. That is what I heard over and over in the community. There are so many positive things to work on. There's a lot of support for working on Coast Highway. How many times did we hear about the vacancies on Coast Highway? There was probably no support for projects out east. That will, in fact, drain our services, our ability to provide services. We create more demand and no more money. That means all our level of service goes down. We create more business opportunities in Oceanside, and we focus on tourism and making Oceanside the best that it can. There's a lot of support for that. And Mayor Jim Wood has always supported that. Please don't do this. Please don't do this. It's not going to get you anything other than maybe a front story, and it is embarrassing. I heard some people, it may have been from the dais, say, well, in Carlsbad, they talk about things, and then they come out, and then they're united. Well, they didn't even have an real election this year, right? There was no one who ran against them. In Oceanside, we're much more passionate. We care about our issues, but we abide by the results. You're asking us to abide by those results. You asked us about that as when you speak against recall. You ask us to abide by results. Please abide by the result that we just had, that we're going to celebrate next Wednesday with our new swearing in of Mayor Wood for another 4 years. Please allow him to be our mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Feller, please.
Thank you. I would also like to tell the audience thank you for re-electing me, although probably not any of you did. But I'm still here. So I wasn't asking for a comment. And you might have avoided this. Now, maybe you couldn't this time, but you were so vehemently opposed to Prop F. It could have solved this problem that I'm still here. But as it is, I am still here. When Sherry Mackin was elected, I was ripped out of the chair of NCTD at that point, and I was taken off the executive committee of Sandag, and you know it was, and she was made the appointee at that point, and we've lost, I believe, traction ever since. I will say that I believe we should be at a bare minimum on transportation and planning as representatives from our region, but the mayor doesn't appoint any of us to that. They've relegated the authority to Del Mar and what's that other city? Solana Beach, that total about 15 to 20,000 residents. In Oceanside is on, I think, borders and public safety. And I'm proud to represent. I bring back what I hear down there and run it through the city manager, who actually does run this city. And the idea before was, and always has been, I thought, to get the consensus of the council when you're represented at representing the city at Sandag. And that has never happened. It's whatever the whim of the representative is, and I would think that that would be something that we need to probably establish. And I wish those of you that are here, representing Jim in his reelection, and congratulations to him. But I wish you'd have been around and spoken that passionately about when we lost seniority, if you will, on Sandag and the transit district. There's a lot of projects. A guy by the name of Joe Collegian was on transportation down there for, I think it was about 12 years. And you look at the interchange at Loma Santa Fe, that's all Joe Collegian of being on transportation at Sandag. Del Mar has received many great additions with their freeway widenings through their representation. I do have one correction. We continually hear about a large portion of Wahomie Park, and that's a 557-acre park that has a corner of it, which is about 5 acres, that is relegated to the widening of Melrose, and you know, that's years away, as we all know. I have a question for the city attorney. Does this violate state law?
In my opinion, it does not. Under the current city code 2.1.64, all appointments are to be made by the mayor with the ratification of the city council. And our city code, I think it's in subsection G then, references Government Code Section 40605, which in turn gives the mayor appointment authority over regional boards and commissions, again, subject to the ratification of the council unless there's some other state statute that provides unambiguously otherwise. 40605, though, expressly only applies to general law cities. There is no state statute that applies to charter cities in terms of the appointment authority to regional boards and commissions. So, in my opinion, you could do this, but only through an amendment to the city code.
And when was the state law passed, or the FPPC change enacted?
Okay, so you're referring to the FPPC regulation that formerly prevented council members from voting on their own appointment, is that correct? And that was changed this past year.
Do you have the time frame? Was it?
You know, I don't have the exact date in front of me. I know it required us to post on the city's website all of the various stipends that are available to public officials serving on regional boards and commissions. And once we've done that, then you have the ability to vote on your own appointment. So that was within, we did the council action to place it on the website in the last 6 weeks or so.
Right, and it was amended in March of this year.
Okay. To answer Carolyn Kramer's question, as far as I'm concerned, I would much prefer, if we don't have a strong mayor form of government, it is ceremonial, and I commend Mayor Wood for his activities in the community. He welcomed all the people at the turkey trot. You saw the people he brought forward tonight for the proclamations, and he's a wonderful representative of the people, and as well I give him kudos for his effort to meet and shake hands and be involved with all those the people. I don't think we're getting what we need at Sandag. Sandag is somebody has to be fighting for things like Highway 78 and 5, and if we could have moved that widening around and had forceful input, I think we could have been quite a bit differently treated instead of having to wait another 20 plus years for this interchange. Instead of widening from the south-north. I'm sure they have their reasons, but we didn't fight very hard for that. And also at the transit district, when I was there, we were starting to work on quiet zones and things like that, and it has completely fallen by the wayside, and I think that's something that we can as well push. I would love it if the mayor would get the consensus of the council and be continually be the representative, but I don't think that would happen. So those are my comments.
Councilmember Sanchez, please.
I just wanted to add one thing, and perhaps this might put this in perspective, and perhaps not, but I will offer this. I have been working with Sandag as a council member who also happens to be a coastal commissioner, so I know the ins and outs of the commission. And it was my intent to work really, really hard with Sandag, understanding that I would never get appointed by this body to Sandag, but at least work and work with others who do listen to me. Maybe not 3 people here, but believe it or not, other people in the county listen to me, who are in elected office, who would be working really hard with me to make things happen for I-578. And I'm talking about in terms of getting the several required permits to make things happen. I have no delusion that I would ever get appointed, but I'm still, and I know that if I don't get involved in this, because every project needs a champion, if I don't do this, it won't happen. I know that. If this happens to the mayor, this is going to hurt my ability to make that happen. I will be very, very honest about that. But if this goes through, my ability to make that project come to fruition will be much more difficult to do. So I understand the desire of each one of us to do as much as possible for our city. But let's do it in a way that is respectful of each other. If it doesn't go forward if this thing goes forward, then we have a lot less of a foot to stand on. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't see any other lights, so I guess I can speak now because it finishes up with Councilmember Feline.
I'm sorry, Mayor, I meant to ask about the 12th, if that was a date we could move to the 11th, or...
Honorable Mayor, well, first off, even if this motion does pass, you still need to take a separate action to set that special meeting. My recommendation would be is that you move it to Monday, December 10th at 2. That way, Councilmember Sanchez could participate.
If I may, I thought there was an issue of having to wait a week between a first hearing and a second hearing, which was driving that issue and the selection of dates.
You need to wait 5 days.
Calendar days or business days.
City Clerk, I believe it's calendar days.
So, I mean, if Monday's acceptable and that works for everyone here, that's fine for me. I was just trying to be in compliance with an ordinance, but thank you for the...
regarding that, I would hope it would be later in the day that day. And that's all.
I don't know the answer. Okay. No other lights, I'll speak up. Ladies and gentlemen here in the audience and on TV, I would like to say this. Thank you. I was reelected. Use the term landslide or whatever you want to say. I won with a big margin. Thank you. I'm sure some of the comments made up here are true. I'm friendly, I'm outgoing, I seem to care about you, the people, and the community, the neighborhoods. I think it was part of it. I want to be fair about some of this. I got elected to the mayor. I wasn't going to run again. I have family. I'd like to do something with my life. I've got about 45 years of service to this community as a police officer, mayor, councilman, whatever. I think it's time for me to retire and go do some nice things. The only reason I did not leave is most of you in the audience. It really came about over vacancy, decontrol, rent control, some other issues. I think the respect that you needed out there in the community. I was asked by most of you to continue to run. I did that. The frustration level is what you know is happening right now. Do I need this? And you know, I'm voted in as a popular mayor, and then I get people trying to take away my authority to appoint, as simple as it might be. I have two things the rest of the council don't have. I get to run this meeting, and it can be opposed by the vote of majority, whatever I do. And appointing people to committees and commissions with the approval of council. That's the only thing that's really different between me and the council members. It's frustrating to be on for the last 10 years and be in the voting minority most of that time. It is frustrating, ladies and gentlemen. A couple of things that brought things to a head recently, and I need to tell you because now I'm here doing this. I'm called a rhino, Republican in name only. I love that from the paper. I did that because maybe I had some displeasure in the past with the Republican Party, maybe. I'm still a Republican, but the reason I did it, when I got here, I learned very quickly, you're supposed to be nonpartisan. Not a Republican, Democrat, Independent. When you run for office, you can't even put that there, Republican, Democrat, at local level. Higher, yes, but here, no. And it was for a reason. Took me a while to figure it out, but I found out what it was. I have to go to Sacramento, go to Washington, D.C., and deal with both parties. And if you're on one side, the other side hates you or doesn't get along with you or vice versa. But if you stay in the middle and say you're nonpartisan, you get people from both sides that might want to help you bring money back to my city. I've gone back at least 10 years in a row. Maybe I missed one during some medical issues, but we've always brought back millions of dollars to benefit the city on our visits back there. When I go back there, I generally have to deal with three people. Congressman Issa in federal government, Senator Feinstein, and Senator Boxer. The power brokers back in D.C. are Feinstein and Boxer. Last year, Congressman Issa didn't even want to see us. Maybe that was me. I don't know, but he's busy now because he's higher position back there. So we have to go back and deal with power brokers in the Democratic parties. I can tell you this, if Kern, Feline, or Feller went there, they probably wouldn't get a dime. That's my opinion. I've stayed in the middle and it pays off. I'm boring it a little bit here. So that's part of it. That's paid off to be in the middle, be a nonpartisan. Same thing at the state level when you deal with the governor here, what's going on. Now let's talk about Sandag. Sandag is a powerful committee in San Diego made up of 18 cities and other people. They're not voting members, but mostly mayors show up and represent it. There's no doubt about it, or somebody the mayor appoints to go down there for whatever city you want. Here's what's changed over the years. Very powerful agency with a lot of input on money from Transstat Texas. I now have just become the senior mayor in North County. In the entire North County, I'm the senior mayor. Hard to believe. It didn't seem like I've been there that long. That is influencing that Sandag, and it takes a while to get the people that you deal with. However, this last election, not talking about me, look at county-wide, it generally went Democrat. Here's the difference at Sandag. I sit there with with the cities, and I'm sitting there. Most everything we do at Sandag is a compromise. Have all these cities, and we have power votes. Power votes. I'm a big city, so I only get 5 power votes for being a big city. Chula Vista gets 6. They're the second largest city. However, San Diego gets 25, and the county of San Diego gets 25. If the county of San Diego and the city of San Diego go together, they can't beat them. The power base is in the south. Well, that's because of power votes. That's not what it's about. You have to give and take. This moving of $800 million or whatever the figure might have been at Sandag, they don't seem to understand. We had voted on certain things. Things have to be shovel ready. Shovel ready, if you don't, you can't get the money from Sandag and move it forward. I have a lot of influence in Sandag. However, what you do is, that money that was supposed to be up here for North County, it got moved south because some issues that came up at Sandag and the money wasn't coming here, and it was going to go to the second choice that we've all approved at Sandag, what would be next in order. If it couldn't be done here, it wasn't shovel ready, or things weren't coming up here. I-5 widening, ladies and gentlemen, we were picked last coming up the coast. Why? The Buena Vista Lagoon, the impact on the environment. They knew that the widening of I-5 and 78 overpass or flyover both had to be done at the same time. Same time, because of the environmental impacts on that body of water here. We weren't ready. We didn't even have the environmental impact reports. Why? Fish and Game hadn't done them. The money couldn't be spent here unless it's done. Only recently, in the last few months, did Councilmember Sanchez come in and say she, as a Coastal Commission with a lot of power over Fish and Game, said that she would get with us, Carlsbad, Oceanside, and try to get Sandag to do that study instead of Fish and Game to move it forward so we can widen the freeway into Highway 78 overpass. Without those, it'll never go forward and we'll never get the money. That's why we don't really have the money. It can't be done. She stepped up between Carlsbad and us and said, we're front the money along with Sandag, another $800,000 to do those studies. We would have never got that if it wasn't for Councilmember Sanchez saying, as a representative of the Coastal Commission, I want it done, and the power that she has over Fish and Game and others. Carlsbad kicked in the money, Oceanside kicked in it, now the study's going forward. As the freeway comes north, Solana Beach, widen the freeway all the way north, the bridges, etc., we were put last because of that issue on the Buena Vista Lagoon. I didn't like it. I wanted, you give. It's a give and take issue. Can I force them to give me the money when I know I can't use it because we don't have the environmental impact reports done? No. So that money went to a separate agency and moved in the county. It's a give and take issue. Now, here's the interesting now that Sandag, and if they somehow make this where I get removed from Sandag, believe me, ladies and gentlemen, every other Friday driving to San Diego on a Friday morning and coming back on a Friday afternoon isn't easy. We all know that. So here's the thing. After this last election, now we have a Democratic mayor of San Diego who has 25 power votes, and we have a new county board of supervisor who might be on the next Sandag board who has 25 power votes. And Encinitas threw out their mayor who was the chair of Sandag because he didn't listen to the public. And so he's not even down there anymore. So we see a little power switch at Sandag with what's going on down there and where it may go. Whoever sits there should do the best they can. I'll address another issue. Did I put some of these gentlemen here on some of the subcommittees or whatever? Sometimes no, because they don't seem to want to cooperate with me or the public. Do I think they could do the best job at Sandag or NCTD? Probably at the time, no. That's why I didn't appoint them to them, and I maybe removed them. I also represent putting people on the Sandag subcommittees for the 5 coastal cities. That's all I can appoint to. Oceanside, Carlsbad, Encinitas, Solana Beach, and Del Mar. Because Del Mar is the smallest city, should be overlooked? No, because they're the richest city with the money. But they are smaller. A lot of these cities go down there and they want their influence by being a smaller city, by volunteering to be on bigger committees and commissions. That's how they get their muscle over bigger cities. The problem with that, in a sense, is you step on the toes of the small cities because they're smaller than you. Doesn't look good. I've nominated a lot of them to position because it gives them the feeling that they have some power as a smaller city. Do I think sometimes that maybe those people do a better job than some of our council members? Absolutely yes, and I'm sorry to say that, but yes, and that's how it comes down. They want to remove me from Sandag because I don't support the 3 of them in their direction as the voting majority on the council. Maybe there's a reason that I don't support them. I think you already know what that is. Here's the situation we have down there is that they're the voting majority, but I don't represent the voting majority. They don't like that. I represent the voting majority of the public, few people. They don't like that because it's not in the same direction they're going. I thought the original San Diego people, especially the San Diego Central Committee, got their hands slapped this last election big time. I thought these gentlemen plus the rest of them might got a hint of what happened. Also, I won big time probably because I am a mayor who tends to be nonpartisan. Now, that doesn't mean I don't like anything, and sometimes everybody has a good decision of what's going on. But I represent you, not the 3 of them. They don't like that. That's a decision. If they win this battle, somebody here in this group will be at Sandag, hopefully representing you. But here's the problem I have. It's been a long time said by you and other people that they don't listen to you. So if they don't listen to you, why would they listen to you when they're at powerful agencies like Sandag? Does that make me hesitant about appointing people that don't listen to you? Yes, they do not like it. I tell you, I may not be the person representing them, but you voted me in office by big numbers, so I'm representing you. Now, there's some issues coming up here. Our city attorney says, I think they can do this. Might be true. I'm going to ask him to give me legal representation as the mayor because he can't give it to me. He's in conflict, and I understand that. So can they give me a lawyer that can answer my questions and protect what I think I have as the mayor and my position after this election? Hopefully they will. If not, I guess we'll go to court on that and find out if they have to give it to me. There you go. Thank you. I do appreciate that. This slows us down. But here's the thing. A lot of this, as you know, in the past, about a year ago, this came up again. Can I take my power away to a point? There's a ruling from the Attorney General's Office of California saying mayor had the right. Mayor Dick Lyon fought that battle, said, I have these few things that I do above the council as mayor, they shouldn't take it. He fought it, won it from the decision out of the AG's office. Remember, if I get this to go legally, I'm going to go to the Attorney General's office of California. Remember who we have now as a female for the Attorney General of the state of California. A liberal female out of San Francisco with a governor who's a Democrat, number one. That same group of people and the same Attorney General just hit Sandag and won a decision out of the Superior Court of San Diego. And that's the entire Sandag board, because the Attorney General of California went down and joined up that environmental group and just won a tentative decision against Sandag. So the people I'm going to ask to represent me and go to the Attorney General's office are a little bit different than they were a few years ago. So I think maybe I'll have a better luck in defending this and what goes forward. I don't want to put the city manager or the city attorney in a bad spot. That's why I think I'd have to seek outside legal representation. This came up before in the past, and the courts made the city give attorneys to council members. We'll see where it goes from there. So I explained generally the 78 money, the Melrose money. Here's the other thing I have to tell you. Highway 78 at Melrose Drive, 78 at RDO. I've been on Sandag for a long time. There's no money for it. It's not on the 2030, 2050 plan. It isn't going to happen, so why do you fight? If you want to get that, you've got to take a whole bunch of money away from some other region. They're not going to give it up. It's a fight. It's a battle. We'll see where it goes. And with Sandag's face changing to be more democratic and a different change, I think they have a bigger battle on their hands than things. I think the mayor of San Diego is going to make a big change in a lot of things in Sandag with a lot of power. So with that being said, I sit back not as a Democrat, not as a Republican on this, but in the middle representing you. I know this is getting boring, and I apologize for that, but again, I try to listen to you. The majority doesn't tend to listen to you. This is why I think we're having this issue today. If I get removed, I'll have a battle on my hand, and we'll see where it goes from there, and it might cost you, the taxpayers, extra money. I would apologize in advance, but I don't think this is necessary, and we'll see. I didn't like the wording today when they said this. Oh no, the mayor has the choice to appoint first, but if we don't agree with them, we get to take it. That's a word game. I don't want it any more than you would see this. I know Mr. Feline did that. He's been a gentleman that I've dealt with in the past, and we became friends. However, I think he kind of marches to a different drummer than myself, but we're still friends. That's just how it is. On the other hand, we'll see what happens here. I think they also put this time limit in here because and 1st of January, let's say, all the people will have sworn in their candidates in the new council. Not the old councils, but these cities, and I represent the 5 coastal cities. Well, their new councils will be now sitting there, not the old ones. And then that's when we're going to pick people who have been newly elected to sit on these subcommittees and boards for the 5 cities. I think they're doing it fast because they figured out that the power brokers are Oceanside, Solana Beach, Encinitas, and maybe Del Mar. And we get to pick who sits on those subcommittees, and it may not be them. So with that in mind, I apologize for talking too long. I appreciate what you've done. I love all of you for it. You guys are giving me gray hair and a receding forehead. I understand that, and I'll live with those ugly looks, but then again, that actually gives me the sympathy vote in the future, so I thank you for that. And what can I say? I don't dislike anybody up here. We just have a difference of opinion. And I think we saw in this last election, regional-wise, some of that power base has switched over to another side. If I'd stayed on the other side, and I'd be on the losing side now, or the other, or vice versa, it's nice to stay in the middle where it seems to be safe on that fence, where you can fall to either side once in a while, depending on how much money I want from the state or the federal government. Now, like I say, Whatever they pick, I understand it. Will I live with it? I'll probably legally look at it, but as I said, this isn't over with yet on this vote, a subsequent vote. They want to have a special meeting that I normally call. I probably wouldn't call it so the three of them can, but try to hurry up this before a new city council in the North County gets voted into office. That's not the vote in, they have to be sworn in. So that's the difference in why this rush is going on. Thank you for your time, ladies and gentlemen. I see no other lights, but this has to finish up with the maker of this item, which is Councilmember Feline. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mayor.
If I could just say one thing, I apologize. It looks like sounds like this vote is going to go through. I don't want to rob this man of any days at all of being the mayor. So I would rather not be at the meeting on, what is it, the 12th that you want to set? I'd rather not be at that meeting than rob this man of any time at all as being our mayor. Thank you.
I will add one thing, ladies, and this is what it is. I've never had a meeting where we passed over all the items on the agenda that are actually really important to take this from the audience and the public input. So I know that we got to get back to some of these items because that's how the city runs. Sorry, Gary, but
No, and then I will compliment the mayor as well before I wrap up here. And that, yeah, and I freely acknowledge the mayor's door has always been open when I've wanted to talk with him, and the mayor's always been gracious on my request. But there is a difference between gracious and being responsive, and I mean that in a political sense.
I realize, sir, I obviously do.
And so, we don't play on the same team, that's true, but I am complimentary on our interaction on a personal level. But I do want to emphasize 2 points here, and that was discussed by some of my colleagues, and one is that we've had one team that had no restraint whatsoever in making appointments, removing people from office when those appointees did not match their view of the world, which they had the right to do. And Councilwoman Sanchez and Mayor Wood participated in those votes, and yet they seem to want to deny a majority the right to pick people they feel more comfortable representing them, them being the majority. And so I don't understand why there's this supposed double standard, and that it's a democracy when one side gets to do it, but somehow it's a dictatorship when the other side enjoys the same privileges of office. The other issue that I want to re-emphasize is the idea we have 2 types of appointments here, one of which is affected by my motion and one which is not. In terms of third-party appointees, such as when we're appointing to the City Planning Commission, the City Utilities Commission, et cetera, the mayor's appointment's exactly the same. And the reason is because those are third parties. And so I don't have any issue there. The issue that I have is when we're picking appointees to positions that are going to be filled by city council members. And when the appointees to those slots are going to be city council members, I believe a different dynamic is required. And so I believe that since those appointees are supposed to represent the city council as a whole, the city council as a whole should have more influence. Now, the mayor's absolutely correct. The structure of my motion is to recognize the ceremonial role of the mayor. The meat of it is, he gets first crack at making nominees. But yeah, if in the end the majority would not support those nominees, they would have the power to put forward other people. So, as Councilman Feller mentioned, we don't have a strong mayor form of government, and so, I think we ought to, so I'm trying to acknowledge the ceremonial role the mayor can play, while at the same time saying the majority also has rights of its own. And so I believe when we're picking city council members that the city council should have more of a voice in those decisions. So I would urge a yes vote on my motion. Thank you.
thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Before I vote on that, Mr. City Warren. Okay, please vote, ladies and gentlemen. Thank
Motion
you, ladies and
approved,
gentlemen.
3 to 2. Wood and Sanchez, no.
Colonel, you didn't listen to you?
No.
Okay, please.
Honorable Mayor, council members, part of the motion included that this item be coming back on the 5th. Normally we will be posting the agenda tomorrow afternoon, so we will show this item on there, but the agenda posting that will be online will not have the backup material. We will try to get that, it will be posted by the minimum required time, which will be Monday, but it will not be in the agenda that will, the backup material in the ordinance will probably not be in the agenda that gets posted tomorrow afternoon.
Mr.
It can be posted, I think, by Thursday night.
Mr. City Attorney, I saw you hitting the light. Did you have something else? Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Because of a request, I'm going to move to item number 2223, which is public input. Ladies and gentlemen in the audience, if you're staying here, fine. If not, thank you for your hospitality, your kindness, and your support. We're going through items not on the agenda for communications. I know some of you are here for that. If we don't watch out, we'll actually get to some of the city's business. And Mr. Councilman, are you just sitting in to see all the fun and excitement, or do you need anything? Did you want to speak on anything?
This is not how it's done, by the way, Cody. This is not how it's done.
Now, watch this and go back and do just the opposite. Madam Clerk, please.
Item 22 is the advance written request to speak, and it's by Kathy Nykel.
Hi, Kathy. Nice hat.
Somebody dared me to wear it. I have to get in the holiday mood.
I didn't even notice it. Hi, Al.
So I'm one of those types of people who like to get in any type of holiday type of mood, so I try to accessorize.
Rain.
So thank you very much, Honorable Mayor, City Council members, staff, and of course the viewing public and attendees. My name is Kathy Nykel, and I want to bring up several items that are coming up over the next couple weeks. The first thing is, and I know that the mayor brought this up earlier, we do have a chance of inclement weather for tomorrow. We try not to use the R word ever on Thursday. So tomorrow we have the tree lighting scheduled for 6 p.m. with activities for families before starting at 5 all the way until 8 p.m. in conjunction with the Sunset Market. However, if you're curious if it's going to happen, Parks and Rec and Main Street Oceanside will make the final call at 10 a.m. and we do have a hotline, 760-967-7915, or call Parks and Rec. But as far as I'm concerned, I think we should go on with the show. So, the holiday tree lighting, I want to thank the city because they're the ones who brought back our holiday tree lighting ceremony, and we are celebrating our 6th year. So thank you very much. And of course, all of our holiday decorations in the downtown. We also have our Sunset Market. The activities that will be at the market and also at the tree lighting, we have a trackless train, we have race cars, we have a slide, we have carriage rides. Parks and Rec will have, of course, Santa coming at 6 to help light the tree, my favorite guy. I have a long list. And then we also have lots of arts and crafts that Parks and Recreation personnel will be helping out with our children to do. We also have 75 children who will be coming to sing that night, along with a lot of music prior to and during the actual tree lighting. And of course, we start our holiday market season at the Sunset Market in conjunction with the tree lighting. And during the holiday market, of course, we have lots of good food. We have a full market every week. It's the perfect one-stop shopping every Thursday from 5 to 9.
But don't forget, the city started our day market, which is from 9 to 1. So if you don't know what you need to get, the farmers are there and they have all your specialty items as far as squash, pies, etc. And then every year, we bring in a group who will help with providing back to our community. The one item I forgot to mention is our city is actually doing a book drive. So don't forget, if you have books, drop them by our Parks and Recreation Department or City Code Enforcement to give back to the community. Main Street Oceanside is partnering with Soldiers Angels. They will be here this week, the 6th and the 13th of December, so that they can provide donation and packages to our service members during the holidays. On the list, we have socks, cocoa, cider, candy, gum, handheld games. I could go on forever. Think of what you'd like at Christmas, something small, something special, something that represents the United States of America. And of course, information for anything that's going on in Oceanside can be seen on the city special event website, which we also try to duplicate in our event calendar. Our website is msoceanside.com. We are your downtown business association, and we love partnering with the city to let everybody know how great Oceanside is. I think that's everything I have, and I hope I see everybody at the tree lighting tomorrow and during the holidays.
What kind of tree is it?
It's our tree.
No, what kind of tree?
The tree that's at the Regal Plaza?
Yeah.
It's probably about 3 stories. It's green. It has a lot of decorations.
So it would look like a Christmas tree,
It
not a
is.
holiday tree.
Yes,
I think
it's a Christmas tree.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Every year at that, I am amazed year after year how many people come out and enjoy themselves. And I love the fact that you have it on a Thursday when they finish. They still have the street fair down there, a lot of things to shop for Christmas, food from all around the world. So I'm selling it too because it's wonderful. I did talk to the 2 people that are going to help light the tree. One from Sacramento said it's raining like a son of a gun. Sorry to say that.
They should move to Oceanside, sir.
That's way up there. And then the other one, he says we may not be able to do it like on the 6th if it gets continued, but we'll work on something though. But anyhow, I hope not a problem tomorrow, and I can't wait to see Santa.
I know. But everybody who asks, I tell them, you know what, you live in the wrong city. Oceanside has much better weather. That's why I live here.
Thank you. I think you should wear that hat every day.
Well, as you can see, I'm not really good on the balance, so thank you very much for hearing me. I
Thank you.
appreciate it. Hope to see you tomorrow.
You got it.
Item 23, communications from the public. We have 6 speakers. Jimmy Knott, Larry Berry, if he's still here.
I don't know if he's outside.
I don't see him. Mike Bullock, Diane Nygaard, Ken Layton, and Douglas Ben? Sorry.
In the mayor, council members, Jimmy Knott, 127 Cherry Lane. In the public here, and on some of our citizens' mailboxes this week, they'll be receiving a notice from Cox Communication telling them that beginning December 13th, that Cox channels 18 and 19 will be shifted to different channels, to higher digital channels. This will require new equipment from Cox Communications and future additional cost. This will be affecting our fixed minimum Social Security and minimum wage recipients who can only afford the basic package. Cox is only willing to help for 1 year. However, the city manager's office believes this is uncalled for, and to potentially encumber the citizens with these costs is unconscionable. But because the citizens have a right to access their government over cable TV without those additional costs. The city manager's office has sent a communication to Cox Communication in this effect, requesting that the access be maintained and that the citizens receive this at no additional cost. And so basically, the city of Oceanside has put it into Cox Communications Court and says, it's your ball, we're going to wait for you to return it. And so I just want to let the public know that the city manager's office is being proactive in this so that you know that you're being taken care of by your city government. That's the first thing. The second thing is that I met with Miriam Wagner and our city's engineering department and found out that for mobile home parks, they exist into the 100-year flooding zone. There are some new interpretations that it would affect those people that live in those zones. That if you have your mobile home and you want to replace it, you cannot replace it with a larger home. It can only be that footprint, that size home. And if you fix up your mobile home, it can only be 50% of that value of the pull-out value only. Otherwise, you will have to raise your mobile home above the flood stage level. It has to be only to that 36-inch level. There are other additional laws and information regulations that will be potentially brought out in the future here. I just wanted to bring that to the public's attention that there are some new interpretations. Thank you.
Hi, Ken Layton, 1109 South Nevada Street. I hate to break it to you, Mr. Mayor, but you don't get to light the Christmas tree tomorrow. We're going to have Mr. Falloon dress up like an elf, and he gets to do it. In news stories and editorials, the North County Times has done everything possible it could to make us look like a town overrun by gangbangers, where if you run for public office, you might get shot. I implore the city to direct the police to investigate and determine if, in fact, death threats were made to council candidate Jimmy Knott, as was reported. A North County Times editorial of November 17th said, quote, "Knott should be allowed to participate in public life unmolested." Really, Jimmy? You were molested when you ran for council? What does that mean exactly? It doesn't sound very good. Then the very next day, another North County Times editorial piece said, quote, "One unsuccessful council candidate fears for his safety, maybe even his life," unquote. Really, Mr. Knott? You got threats to your life? It said it right there in the North County Times. Mayor and council members, this is serious stuff. It is an indictment on how low-life our political process has allegedly become. This is way over the top. Please show some leadership and have the OPD get to the bottom of this. If Mr. Knott was threatened with his life, let's prosecute those who lodged said threats. If he wasn't molested, and if Jimmy Knott was in fact not threatened with his life, then let's expose this for what it was, a fraud to get attention at the expense of our city. Something tells me that there was no molestation and that there were no death threats, and that this was all one big scam perpetrated by Mr. Knott and cheerfully executed by the North County Times. But for God's sakes, if there were threats, let's uncover the felons, put them in jail, and clean up our reputation. Just as Oceanside moves ahead with all these positive steps forward, why does one activist and a newspaper struggling with declining readership get to slander our community and get away with it? Jimmy's reaction now, after all this, is, okay, let's just forget about it, and let's just all get along, after he got our paper to slime our city. The city of Oceanside doesn't employ a PR specialist who would project a positive image, maybe because we can't afford such a position. But for the love of God, why do we have someone who was supposed to be on our side, an appointed commissioner, take us down in this fashion? Please, let's not telegraph to everybody that if you run for office in Oceanside, you do so at your own peril, that you might be killed. Please, council, let's get to the bottom of these alleged death threats. Prove these threats or retract your slurs. Thank you.
The Honorable Mayor, council members and staff. I'm Mike Bullock, 1800 Bayberry Drive, Oceanside, and as I said before, I'm a retired satellite systems engineer, so you're going to see a lot of numbers again. And I'm the transportation chair for the San Diego Sierra Club. You can see what this talk is about, and I want to go right into the climate part of this. Any earth science textbook, such as this one, will include two facts, which is shown on this PowerPoint slide here. Atmospheric CO2 traps heat, and we are adding great quantities of CO2 to our atmosphere by our burning fossil fuel. The next three charts are about S305. This is why Sandag is probably going to lose this lawsuit on Friday. They wouldn't listen. It's a greenhouse gas trajectory that we must at least achieve. The outcome's not very good, but we must at least achieve this to keep atmospheric CO2 levels before 450 parts per million by 2050. It is 1990 levels by 2020 and 80% below that by 2050. So we need some pretty serious reductions. Here's the famous Keeling curve showing the increase in atmospheric CO2 over the last 50 years. Here, in blue, is atmospheric CO2, and Earth average temperature in red over 800,000 years. We have run up atmospheric CO2 levels to 394. Sandag doesn't care. But 450 parts per million is S305's goal, and that's also shown. That's not conservative, that's reckless. So conservatives that aren't worried about this are not really being conservative. Here's the last 1,000 years, and you can see when we started burning coal, when we started burning other fossil fuels. We can account for all of what's shown there. We've run atmospheric levels up to 394, and 450 is off the chart there. And you can see the temperature is going up. It's in the blue, and it's real choppy. That's because solar activity. But underneath that solar activity, it's going up. The next four slides show SB 375, and the data there shows and supports, and I can't go through it, I don't have time, but a calculation that by 2035 we will need per capita driving to be reduced 35.1% compared to 2005 driving. The corresponding net driving in our county will have to be reduced to 15%. Well, I didn't get through this, but the bottom line is that zoning changes need to help us reduce driving, not increase driving. And that's where the Quarry Creek development comes in. So I'm asking you to take a position on that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay.
Honorable Mayor and Council, Diane Nygaard, representing Preserve Calavera and our over 3,100 North County families. We expect that you all be very concerned about the Quarry Creek project right on our borders. We know this is a city council that saved the sacred waterfall. It's this city that had added a 50-foot buffer to the creek to make sure we could accommodate a public trail, something we call the waterfall to the waves. Imagine how wonderful that could be to accommodate that. But this project is now proposed by Carlsbad is going to more than double the number of housing units that are currently zoned. Up to 656 are proposed. They're not providing for the full buffer, not providing for bicycle pedestrian trail connections to El Camino Real. They're asking Oceanside to provide 100% of the fire and emergency medical service. Oceanside providing 100% of the service to this valley. And of great significance to everyone is that 100% of this traffic is going to dump here in Oceanside. Both of the roads will connect at College in an already heavily congested area. And this is an area that I drive every day. We've got 4 senior communities right there at Lake Boulevard by College. You can't drive by that area without seeing somebody in a walker or in a wheelchair trying to maneuver that already very unsafe intersection. So we would hope that you would represent all of us here in Oceanside and ask Carlsbad to do that project right. And we think there's 4 key things that are part of doing it right. Fewer units. Every unit accounts for 7 to 9 traffic trips every day, so reducing each unit will make a difference. Improving pedestrian safety, not just in their part of the project, but it needs to connect all the way through the Quarry Creek Shopping Center and across that intersection at College Boulevard so that people who live along Lake can safely access that area with a whole lot more traffic. Bicycle pedestrian connections to El Camino Real so we can all truly enjoy that Waterfall to the Waves trail. And public transit subsidy. North County Transit District says they can put together a dynamite transit route, would serve the shopping center, would serve Carlsbad's new high school on College Boulevard, coaster, sprinter stations. Imagine how many cars we can get off that congested road by doing that. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Looks like I'm last on the list. Doug Fensel, 300 South Horn Street. Here on a more specific question or specific thing isolated to a neighborhood. It's a specific proposal to make the 300 block of South Horn Street one-way traffic, the one-way direction from south to north, with angle parking on the east side. The development of this proposal resulted from a Oceanside Coastal Neighborhood Association meeting in early October talking about the Belvedere project. The specific proposal that I have here and that you actually have received as council people before the Belvedere meeting, was part of a presentation by Joan, the president of the Oceanside Coastal Neighborhood Association, at the Belvedere meeting, and is part of the record there. I believe all of the people at in attendance at our meeting were in agreement with this proposal because it has impact from additional traffic that the Belvedere project can bring. The Belvedere project and the new hotel project are great things for the city. We moved here in 2006 looking forward to all of this development and can't wait to see that it gets done, and that the downtown area starts driving the economics of the city. We look forward to that a lot. We think with the change, well, we believe there will be benefit to this because right now this intersection at Michigan and Horn is not safe. It's not a straight through intersection. We could make it much safer for people driving and accessing their cars. There are frequent dodges and misdirections, and the measurements for the street are not necessarily safe. But most importantly, we think making this change will start setting aside a downtown neighborhood with a vision for the city of showing it as part of the vision of the redevelopment plans and make it a more desirable neighborhood to the downtown area. So I have additional information that you've already received, but I just wanted to make it a special notification at this meeting.
We really don't respond to people on items not off the agenda per se, but have you gone to the traffic division to address these issues?
I have not specifically yet, but look forward to that kind of direction.
Honorable Mayor, council members, and that had come up before, and if you recall, during the Belvedere hearing, the developer did indicate that he would work with the neighborhood. And I believe through Mrs. Bachman, we have some information as well.
Okay.
Thank you, thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Is that it?
No. We have a public hearing item.
Pardon?
We have a public hearing.
No, I meant for this.
Oh, yes, that's all the speakers, sorry.
I know if there's any more speakers, but what I'm getting to is, yes, we have, if I confirm it with you, have we touched anything that pertains to city business yet? If not, can we go forward with that?
We can go forward.
And I think we have item 25, is that the only one, correct?
That's the only one.
Could we do that, please? I thank you very
right.
much. And as the mayor, I will open this public hearing and request disclosures, starting with the deputy mayor.
Staff only.
None.
Staff.
As a coastal commissioner.
Staff only. Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, any correspondence, petitions?
No correspondence.
Are you sure?
I'm sure.
Thank you very much. With that, John, good evening, sir, and how are you? We wanted to save you the last.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members, Mr. Weiss, Mr. Mullen, John Helmer, interim city planner. I have a short PowerPoint here that pretty much iterates the staff report, or we can bypass that and go, I'll be available for questions if you prefer. Certainly.
Sounds good to us. Sidebar for right now. Let's have a sit sidebar. Madam Clerk.
This is a public hearing. If anyone wishes to speak on this item, please come forward.
Mayor, council members, Jimmy Knott, 127 Sherry Lane. Also, I sat on the committee that helped form this ordinance. There's some problems with it that I need to bring to your attention. And what you have before you, it says very simply in part 1 there, where it says 3901, purpose and intent, B, establishing standards and policy to ensure that wireless communication facilities development within the city is visually compatible with the character with the surrounding environment through regulation of location and design. The problem with that is, number one, that we in that committee designated a vehicle to get this done, and that was a map of knowing exactly where are these antennas. From what I have been told by city staff, it was given to from Jerry Hindelman to them, and there is no staff to get this done. There is no staff, no money to get it done. The problem with that is I'll bring up a couple of issues that have taken place. That's at the Surf Bowl. That's a hot spot. Right there. That's Santa Rosa Street. That's another hot spot. These are issues that are coming up. When we first started out this, it was basically said that there was about 100 cell towers. But come to find out, there is more than 100 cell towers in the city. In fact, come to find out, let me go through this list here for you. There's 6 registered towers, 131, 39, 17, on and on and on, plus there's 569 potential more towers that can be allocated. The question becomes, when you come down to all these towers and issues, is very simple. There's supposed to be a map. The city doesn't have a map. It comes to 824 potential towers in the city for regulation purposes. Now, with 2 hotspots that is already on cellmapper.net, and you can get this data for information on the cell towers. It took me 10 hours to find it. www.city-data.com. The city should be able to come forward with some information. It hasn't. And there's nothing to prevent, let's say, a provider to artificially create poor reception spots by diminishing the power on their sites. There's a lot of problems here that we brought up to the Coastal Commission and were basically ignored. We cannot stand to be ignored any longer. That map needs to be finished. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Sharon Newberry, Oceanside. I had this page that I typed up past you, and I'm referring to the suggested modifications by the Coastal Commission that you guys are supposed to be looking at. As you can see that I do have questions. But you know what? Since I already passed this paper to you, I'm just going to be blunt. What are you doing? What is the city doing to make the intelligent decision to where a tower or an antenna is being placed? I understand the gap situation, but I also see the gap situation as also a loophole. Because there's only 2 companies that can operate in Oceanside that has the ability to ping off of other telecommunications companies' towers. So therefore, if, say, one company, we won't put names on anybody, is located at one end of the city, and another tower related to that company is at the other end of the city. Since we have no monitoring equipment, and we're not monitoring anything, and it is a known fact that companies can turn up the power during what they call peak hours, but they also have the ability to lower power to show a significant gap. How do you know? Because you have no map, you have no monitoring system, so how is Oceanside supposed to take care of the welfare of the residents of this community, as suggested by the Coastal Commission? It didn't say with the design. It has the word and in my interpretation of the language, and means 2 separate entities. So, you're supposed to be protecting the general welfare of the citizens. I want to know how you're making your decisions. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak on this item?
Madam Clerk, I see none. I'll go ahead and close the public hearing, come back to the council. Before I do that, just want to try to address the questions these speakers had. Staff.
Did you get the sheet? No? Did you answer?
About the, we do require all telecommunications facilities are required to submit with their application a radio frequency report to see if they comply with Federal Communications Commission's regulations for radio frequency. Those are reviewed by a third party. All projects that have been submitted do comply with the FCC regulations. The city cannot further regulate radio frequency. That's in the jurisdiction of the FCC. But we are requiring all applicants to submit information showing that they are complying with applicable FCC regulations on radio frequency radiation. Yeah, turning on and off power, again, they have to be within those regulatory requirements from the FCC. So I don't know if they do or do not turn up or turn down their power. And I don't think I understand the other question about the consistency with the LCP. This, what you have before you is the modifications to the entire wireless communications ordinance as suggested by the Coastal Commission. Most of these modifications relate to the project being consistent with their LCP. There's some minor definition requirements, and there's another requirement that noise from these facilities comply with the city's noise ordinance. So this project is, upon your action and certification by the Coastal Commission, will be part of our certified local coastal plan, and by extension, consistent with the Coastal Act and our LCP.
Thank you. With that, City Attorney, City Manager, any further comments? I know she had some questions. I think they answered some of them.
Trying to, not to complicate matters, but the speaker may have been referring to Section 3920, which discusses federal preemption, and if, of course, there was a gap in coverage that was proven by the applicant, then there's the potential for an applicable development standard to potentially not be applied. I'm not sure if that's the section the speaker referred to. There's no reference in the letter to a specific section, but it's very clear under Section 3920 that it is the applicant's burden to demonstrate a gap in coverage by clear and convincing evidence, and they would be required to set forth all applicable evidence that would then be independently tested with a third party to establish that. That has not occurred since this ordinance has been in effect in areas outside the coastal zone.
The other issue that was, quote, a map of the city and what's going on, any address that issue?
I do acknowledge that throughout the course of working with the ad hoc committee, there was a commitment made by staff to produce a map. That map has been in progress, and we're exceptionally close to completing that. I was actually hoping to get it to Mr. Knott prior to this meeting. One employee that has access to the database with all the locations and information has not been here this week, and so I was unable to complete that. It was something that Jerry Hittleman was working on prior to his departure. Now, that having been said, I do recognize that based on the information I've seen, there are many wireless facilities in town. The one memo that Mr. Knott presented that showed 569, I also viewed that, and that, I believe, is a listing of all the individuals that have the right to operate a ham radio. And that includes handheld ham radios. These could be individuals that are I was surprised by that number when we were doing research on how to regulate the ham antenna. But when I realized that it could include handheld devices, and then the number of complaints that we're getting, it seems certain that the regulations that are in place for ham radios are, for example, we've not received one complaint about a ham radio antenna since we've implemented the new ordinance, and so it seems to be working well, especially for that group. I will commit to the City Council and to Mr. Knott to have that map out by the end of this week. And again, I do apologize, Jimmy.
Thank you. With that, back to the council, Deputy Mayor Feller.
Thank you. I'm going to move introduction, but I would also like, you know, our reception on the Strand, I'm going to throw it out right now, stinks. And so I hope there's something that can be done with that too, but I move introduction.
And we have a second.
I'll second.
And Deputy Mayor Feller, does your motion include adoption of the resolution?
I'm sorry, yes, it does.
Yes, and we have a second there, and Councilmember Kern.
No, I was just going to move in second. I contacted Mr. Helmer earlier about 39A, which I guess wasn't included in this, which, because the ham operators, there's no complaints, you know, the tower thing, so it just, we're going to move forward with 39A as part of 39. So to rest assured, those people at home that ham operators, this has no effect on them whatsoever. That's great.
Thank you. Councilmember Sanchez, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Both Ms. Newberry and Mr. Knott testified at the hearing at the Coastal Commission, and coastal staff did explain to the Commission that the issue of mapping was a city issue and not a Coastal Commission issue. And so the Commission did make these recommendations, and they were accepted by the Commission. Now, I'm glad to hear that the mapping issue is almost complete. Is this going to be a draft, and then it's going to be available to the public, and then, and then become a final report? I can't imagine this is more of a factual thing, but will it be available to the public soon, or?
Yes, it'll be, the way that we've set it up is we've created a map that you can click on a link and it takes you to, it's Google-based. And so you'll be able to click on each individual location that's marked by a little tag, and you'll be able to see who the carrier is and various information on the specific location.
And is this going to be available on our website?
Yes, yes.
Oh, fantastic. And I did want to, again, I believe I thanked you for coming to the Coastal Commission and voicing your concerns and making it clear that that the mapping, for example, was a city issue. The coastal staff did recommend this, compliance with the LCP language be included, as well as a requirement that there be proof by the carrier that there is a significant gap. And significant, I guess it's going to be, that is a term of art. And so I think what I'm hearing is that, concern, and Ms. Newberry does represent others. She's here alone, but that's because it's 8:30, the last thing on the agenda, on the 5 o'clock agenda. But I know that there are people who are concerned about these things, and I hope that we can assure not just her, but the public, that we are very, we are concerned about ensuring all of the issues that we have, that we are able to legislate into and enforce, that we do care about the community in terms of aesthetics, as well as, not having, over an abundance of these if there is not this significant gap. So this is something I'm hoping that staff will take whatever complaints seriously. I'm sure that when you have a number of complaints, those are the ones that are probably going to, for a specific place, for example, that you will look into that, with utmost care. So I'm going to support this, but I do hope that we are responding to the complaints by the public, and that we do take you seriously. Thank you.
Mr. City Manager, please.
Honorable Mayor, council members, just to address Deputy Mayor Feller's issue real quick. Staff has had conversations with one of the cell carriers in regards to looking at gaps along the Strand. This action tonight will let them move forward in looking at that closer. The other location that we have asked them to look at is Douglas Drive.
Thank you. With that, Mr. City Attorney, please.
Thank you. So you have, as the clerk said, a resolution approving the local coastal program amendment. This is the introduction of an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Oceanside for zone amendment, ZA 10-1, Revision 2, modifying Article 39 of the Oceanside zoning ordinance regarding wireless communication facilities.
Thank you. Please vote.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. I appreciate that. I know you have a new clerk coming pretty soon, but other than that, Mr. Campbell, will you remain afterwards? I'd like to see you, number one. And number two, and we're going to adjourn to the next meeting is December 5th, 10 a.m., swearing in ceremony in his chambers. I'd like to have a moment of silence, please, for our former chair of the Housing Commission, Kay Parker, Anita Soda, and Virginia Sanchez. Is that correct, madam? Thank you. Those three, a moment of silence, local people who've done a lot for us. Thank you very much. Thank you. They will be missed, and be safe out there. Thank you very much.